Chapter 132. They all started to flee the Jiang residence. Shao Qian extended out his spiritual sense and ignored the cultivators fleeing for their lives. He wanted to find the Jiang clan's hidden treasure trove. There were sounds of fighting coming from a pavilion on the west side of the Jiang residence. Occasionally, people would run out with large piles of gold, silver, and jewels, rushing out of the government office. With a great calamity looming over them, the Jiang clan cultivators were thrown into confusion. This was clearly the Jiang clan's hidden treasure trove. Shao Qian laughed gently and stood on the golden lion king's back as it flew away. A cool breeze blew past as Shao Qian's blood-stained hair fluttered in the wind. Along the way, he crushed countless pavilions and walls, leaving behind ruins. When the Jiang clan cultivators in the hidden treasure trove saw Shao Qian's figure, they were startled. Before Shao Qian got close, they had already scattered. Shao Qian jumped down and gave the Golden Lion King a berserk command. After that, he ignored it. After using it this time, the Golden Lion King would immediately shatter. There was no way to save it. Walking to the hidden treasure trove, Shao Qian swallowed another qi returning pill. Then, he extended his spiritual sense out. All the scenes within the vicinity appeared in his mind. A secret room at the bottom of the treasury attracted Shao Qian's attention. Relying on the guidance of his spiritual sense, Shao Qian passed through countless secret passages and secret compartments. He quickly arrived at the secret room below. A huge stone door blocked the way. It was clear there was a mechanism there. The stone floor was about 2 meters thick. Shao Qian could not be bothered to look for the mechanism. He condensed a strand of purple flame on his fingertip. The purple flame spun continuously. Every time it spun, Shao Qian's essence would be depleted rapidly. "Shoot!" Shao Qian shouted, and the spinning purple thunder true fire shot out. It left a trail of flames in the air as it struck the stone floor. There was a loud sound and a large hole immediately appeared on the stone floor. Cracks spread out in all directions. After Shao Qian refined the purple thunder true fire several times, its penetrative power was no longer the same as before. Seeing the hole in the stone floor, Shao Qian raised his leg and kicked the stone floor into pieces. Shao Qian entered the secret room in a flash. There were rows of sandalwood boxes on the ground. Shao Qian casually opened one of the boxes and a golden light shone. It was filled with gold, silver, jewels, jades, and pearls. Shao Qian smiled faintly and swept his universe ring. He stored all the boxes in it. There were 20 boxes of treasures. He did not let go of any of them. Shao Qian looked at the shelves at the side. The items on the shelves were well organized. One row was medicinal pills, one row was spirit weapons, and one row was martial techniques and battle armor. On the last shelf, Shao Qian saw a row of inferior-grade spirit stones. There were more than 200 of them. Above the spirit stones, there were more than 100 essence light arrows. Shao Qian was overjoyed. He could not be bothered to count them. He swept his universe ring and stored everything in it. Even so, Shao Qian spent more than 10 minutes before he emptied the entire secret room. Hu Qi. Before Shao Qian left, he set fire to the remaining shelves in the secret room. Then, he quickly left. The Golden Lion King ran amok in the Jiang residence. Flames flew everywhere. In its berserk state, it was like a huge destructive machine. The entire Jiang residence was in a state of chaos and raging flames. Shao Qian looked into the distance. 4 warships were flying over quickly. The people of the various noble clans had received the news and were rushing over. Shao Qian smiled faintly and a silver warship flew out from his right eye. He leaped onto the bow and turned into a silver bolt of lightning, leaving quickly. Not long after Shao Qian left, a black warship stopped in front of the Jiang residence. The Jiang clan's clan head, Jiang Mingxuan, looked at the Jiang residence, which was now in ruins. He had a desolate expression on his face. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Jiang Mingxuan said with a pale complexion, "We have let down our ancestors. Hundreds of years of foundation is gone just like that. Clan head, quickly go to the hidden treasure pavilion and take a look. As long as the Jiang clan's hundreds of years of accumulation is still there, there is no need to worry about not having a chance to make a comeback," a consecrated elder of the Jiang clan behind Jiang Mingxuan said. Jiang Mingxuan reacted and said loudly, "Right. Right. There is also the hidden treasure pavilion. My Jiang clan has accumulated for hundreds of years. There are tens of millions of gold taels and countless medicinal pills, spirit weapons, and battle armor. We will definitely be able to make a comeback." It was like he had found a life-saving straw. He led the people behind him and quickly ran towards the hidden treasure pavilion. On the black warship, Ji Changkong looked expressionlessly at the small silver warship that was disappearing into the distance. He said ruthlessly, "Disregard the expenditure of spirit stones and chase after him." The black warship was like a specter, disappearing from its original spot. In front of it, the ice bird under the Duanmu clan's profound ice palace gave off a resounding cry as it chased after Shao Chen. A large group of cultivators gathered in front of the Jiang residence. When they saw the blazing Jiang residence, all sorts of feelings welled up in their hearts. Everyone knew that the Jiang clan was finished this time. They were completely destroyed by a superior-grade martial master. Such a large Jiang clan was actually destroyed by a superior-grade martial master. This is unbelievable. Indeed. This Shao Chen is too decisive. He took advantage of the time when all the martial saints of the Jiang clan had left to kill his way in. His boldness is indescribable. Do you think that the Jiang clan still has a chance to rise again? It is impossible. In the past few years, the Jiang clan has offended many people. Many martial grand masters died in the ancient remnant. Now that their foundation has been destroyed, they are completely destroyed. This is great. When that bastard son of his was still alive, this old man suffered a lot. The crowd discussed this. The Jiang clan, which had been glorious in Whitewater City for hundreds of years, was gone, just like that. They could not help but feel it was a pity. However, there were even more people who rejoiced in their hearts. They had an expression of schadenfreude on their faces. Gone. Everything is gone. In the secret room of the hidden treasure pavilion, Jiang Mingxuan looked at the empty room filled with ashes. There was nothing in the secret room, and he spoke in a crazed manner. High up in the sky, Shao Chen rode on the silver warship. He sped through the clouds, moving as fast as lightning. The clouds moved past him quickly. Shao Chen stood at the bow of the warship. His hair fluttered in the wind. When Shao Chen turned his head and saw the profound ice palace chasing after him, he smiled faintly. He recalled the silver warship into his eyes and descended from the sky. Shao Chen's body turned into a meteor, and after a while, he landed on the ground with a loud bang. His figure completely disappeared from the profound ice palace's sight. Half a month later, the various noble clans doubled the bounty on Shao Chen's head once again. When the news came out, there was an uproar. The name, Shao Chen, became known to everyone in the great Qin nation. He became the topic of conversation after meals. There were many discussions about Shao Chen's identity. There were also countless versions of how he became enemies with the various noble clans. In Liushang Pavilion, Kim Tae-ho cursed, "What a beast! This fat lord only dares to occasionally take a few pieces of meat from him. This brat actually wiped out the Jiang clan in one go." A manservant ran over with a stack of contracts in his hands. He smiled at Kim Tae-ho and said, "Young master, the territories of the Jiang clan have all been bought out. The city lord's seal has already been stamped on them." What surprised the manservant was that Fatso did not have a pleased smile on his face. He slowly received the contracts and said, "Boring, there is no challenge at all. This fat lord is not a normal failure." The manservant did not understand and asked, "How can that be?" "Young master, you bought all these restaurants and refineries at a price that was practically zero. Fatso cursed, what do you know? That brat took all the money. That was money and banknotes. Just thinking about it makes me sad. If I had known earlier, this fat lord would have done it myself. On a mountain in the Misty Sword sect, Chu Chaoyun stood at the summit. When he heard the news, he smiled faintly. A gentle breeze blew and his clothes fluttered, making him look like he was floating in the morning. A delicate and pretty girl carrying a sword on her back leaped over from the foot of the mountain. Her figure was exquisite, like a dancing butterfly. Soon, she arrived behind Chu Chaoyun and said, "Senior brother, the sect master wants to see you in the Great Hall." When Chu Chaoyun saw this girl, he revealed a gentle smile. He nodded gently and followed her down the mountain. After another half a month, another piece of important news came out. Shao Qin had invested 20 million gold taels in the Flying Snow Manor. As long as someone could kill a noble clan disciple, they could go to the Flying Snow Manor and receive 1,000 gold taels. The higher the rank of the person killed, the higher the reward. If one killed a noble clan heir or someone of equal status, they could receive 5 million gold taels and a medial-grade spirit stone. 3 years later, I will personally kill my way to the noble clans that placed bounties on me. I will not go back on my word. Accompanying this piece of news was Shao Chen's declaration to the various noble clans. The Flying Snow Manor was an assassin organization spread across the entire continent. Aside from the assassins in the manor, some cultivators could also go to the manor to issue or accept missions. However, since the founding of the Great Qin nation, the Flying Snow Manor had never received such a large number of missions before. Not only was there 20 million gold taels, there was also a rare medial-grade spirit stone. It was hard not to be tempted. When the news came out, the world was thrown into an uproar. No one had expected that someone would dare to challenge the noble clans at the same time. These noble clans had existed since the time of the Tianwu dynasty. They had innate bloodlines and inherited martial spirits. Some of them had even existed for tens of thousands of years. Their strength was extremely horrifying. Now, there was an insignificant superior-grade martial master who dared to challenge them. This made people feel that the world had changed. Dongming Province, Dongming City, this was the center of the entire Dongming Province. It was also one of the most bustling cities in the Great Qin nation. The streets were bustling with people and the sounds of people hawking their wares could be heard. Shao Qin turned into an ordinary-looking youth and slowly walked on the streets. In the past month or so, Shao Qin had not seen anyone. Aside from making a trip to the Flying Snow Manor, he spent the rest of his time practicing the shape-shifting spell. After a month of bitter practice, he was finally able to use essence without exposing his appearance. If he wanted to reach the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in the Shihe province, the fastest way would be to fly there. However, in the Dongming province, only Dongming City had a relay station that could cross 2 prefectures. Actually, Shao Qin could use the silver warship to fly to the Shihe province. Its speed would not be slower than the spirit beasts at the relay station. However, there was a very awkward problem. Shao Qin did not know the way, he did not have any coordinates in the sky. Chapter 133. If Shao Qin just blindly flew according to the map, he might not be able to fly out of Dongming province in his lifetime. The difference between flying in the sky and on the ground was too great. The maps on the ground could not be used in the sky. The flying relay station of Dongming province was a huge plaza. There were many huge flying spirit beasts in the plaza. Shao Qin walked straight to the ticket office and spent 1,000 gold taels to buy the most expensive ticket. With such a ticket, he could ride on a spirit beast alone and not have to squeeze with others. Not only was it comfortable, it was also much faster. Shao Qin took the ticket and walked to a stone platform in the middle of the plaza. There were 3 huge golden eagles on the stone platform. The golden eagles were rank 5 flying spirit beasts. Among the rank 5 spirit beasts, they were the fastest. They were almost at the limit of what humans could tame. In the great Tang nation's beast-taming abode, there was a rumor that they could tame rank 7 flying spirit beasts. However, no one knew if this rumor was true or not. Xiaoqin paid the ticket and went to the stone platform. Of the 3 golden eagles, only one had a rider sitting on it. Xiaoqin did not think too much about it and walked over. The rider wore a long gray robe and a hood on his head. It made it difficult to see his figure and face. After Xiaoqin sat on it, the golden eagle immediately cried out loudly. It flapped its wings and created a strong gust of wind as it rose from the ground. The golden eagle quickly flew to an altitude of 1,000 meters. The rider suddenly took off the hood on his head and turned to look at Xiaoqin. He smiled gently and said, "Brother Xiao, it has been a long time." When Xiaoqin saw this person's appearance clearly, he was startled and nearly fell off the golden eagle. He did not expect to meet the person in front of him here. He could not figure out how this person recognized him. "Feng Feixue, why are you here? How did you recognize me?" Xiaoqin said in astonishment. He did not expect to see her here. Feng Feixue tossed the hood in her hand into the air and smiled faintly. Her pretty face bloomed like a flower as she said, "I came to send you off. No matter what you look like, I will be able to find you in the crowd." After Xiaoqin recovered from his astonishment, he revealed a relaxed smile. He could not help but feel surprised in his heart as he asked, "Cousin Yulan and the rest went to the heavenly Qin school?" Feng Feixue changed her posture and turned around completely. She was now closer to Xiaoqin. She revealed a mischievous smile and said, "We have arrived. Everything should be going smoothly. She told me to tell you to take care of yourself. She will come and look for you in 4 years." When Xiaoqin heard this, his heart skipped a beat. Cousin Yulan would look for him in 4 years. He could not help but ask himself if it was too heartless for him to just leave like that. He could not help but ask himself if he was too heartless when it came to relationships between men and women. Although he was stupid, he could clearly feel that Cousin Yulan's feelings for him surpassed that of a normal relationship. However, in his heart, he had never set the Shao clan as his final destination. He had already made up his mind long ago that he would leave the Shao clan sooner or later. He did not want to leave behind any worries or restraints when he left. Thinking of this, Xiaoqin could not help but smile bitterly. Back then, he had left in a carefree manner. However, could the people and the matters there be forgotten so easily? Humans were not plants or trees. How could they be emotionless? Who would truly not understand emotions? Who would truly like to be alone, to be enemies with the world, to be filled with killing intent at every step? Feng Feixue stretched out her hand. There was a recommendation letter in her lily-white hand. She said, "The annual examination of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion has already passed. If you want to enter the inner sect, you will have to enter step by step from the outer sect. It will take a lot of time. This recommendation letter should be able to help you, right?" Xiaoqin did not stretch out his hand to receive it. He looked straight into Feng Feixue's eyes, as though he wanted to see through her. After a while, he muttered to himself, "Feng Feixue, I think it is time for you to tell me everything. What is your relationship with my Shao clan? Why are you taking care of me?" From the first time Xiaoqin met Feng Feixue at Regretful Iron, Feng Feixue had sold the Blue Dragon medicine cauldron to him at a low price. Every time they met, Feng Feixue would intentionally or unintentionally express her goodwill. Xiaoqin did not believe that there would be people in this world who would be nice to you for no reason. Unless that person was your relative. Even if it was a relative, only parents would be nice to their children without asking for anything. When Feng Feixue heard this, she smiled faintly. "Is this important? If you want to know, you can go to the imperial capital at any time. You will find your answer there." Xiaoqin felt suspicious. "Why must I go to the imperial capital? Can't you tell me now?" Feng Feixue smiled tactfully. As the saying goes, words have no proof. "I can make up a reason now, and you will not be able to find any flaws in it. There are some things that, if you do not go to the imperial capital, I will not be able to explain it to you. The person involved will explain it to you. That would be the most reasonable. Xiaochen frowned as he carefully thought about the meaning of Feng Feishue's words. It was very complicated, like a spider's web, there was no way for him to make sense of it. The meaning of Feng Feishue's words was still unfathomable. Why must he go to the imperial capital? Is there anyone in the imperial capital that is worth meeting? Feng Feishue stuffed the recommendation letter into Xiaochen's hands and said, no matter what you think, it does not matter if I am repaying a favor or paying a debt. The Feng clan will never force you on anything. Even if the world does not accept you, the doors of the Feng clan will always be open to you. I will send you here. I cannot really go to Shihe province, although I really want to be with you. Goodbye. The golden eagle will send you there on its own, there is no need to worry. Feng Feishue smiled, leaving behind a melodious laughter that lingered in the air. She jumped down from the golden eagle's back, and a fiery red lotus flower bloomed under her feet, carrying her into the distance. Xiaochen looked at the recommendation letter in his hands, then at the distant Feng Feishue. He shook his head and smiled bitterly, in the end, I am still confused. However, it is still good to know the news of cousin Yulan. The golden eagle continued flying in the air. Xiaochen was somewhat bored, so he took out the exquisite copper bell that he bought the previous time. He had been practicing the shape-shifting technique for the past month and had forgotten about this copper bell. Holding the copper bell in his hand, Xiaochen gently knocked on it. The copper bell gave off a melodious sound. The sound was very pleasant to the ear, but there was nothing strange about it. This was a secret treasure, Xiaochen was certain of it. Unfortunately, the formations and daos within it were all damaged. The space within the secret treasure was chaotic. Xiaochen's spiritual sense was unable to enter it. The last time he tried to probe it, he suffered a heavy blow. This caused Xiaochen to not dare to try it casually. Since Xiaochen's spiritual sense was unable to enter, he was unable to find out the extent of the damage to the formations. Thus, he did not know how to repair it. This copper bell should be a very strong secret treasure. It was a pity that it met with such a situation. Suddenly, an intense cold wind blew in front of Xiaochen. That cold wind instantly turned into a horrifying whirlwind. He could faintly make out the figure of a white dragon. Whistling sounds came from within, like countless people shouting. Pu Ci. Suddenly, an intense wind blew from high in the sky. Xiaochen, who was thinking about the copper bell, did not notice it. By the time he reacted, the wind had already swept him off the golden eagle. What's going on? Xiaochen was alarmed. This wind was very strong. When Xiaochen was swept up in it, he could not circulate his essence at all. He struggled futilely in the air, drifting left and right. Xiaochen's body was tossed high up in the air and then thrown down in the next moment. It was like he was flying in the clouds, going up and down. He could not resist at all. The cold wind was bone-chilling. When Xiaochen felt it, it felt like he was being cut by a knife. It was incomparably painful. Xiaochen cried out in alarm. However, under the power of nature, he could not resist at all. In the cold wind, Xiaochen's body kept swaying. He saw a pair of cold eyes filled with boundless resentment. It turned into a cold wind that drilled into his mind. When the golden eagle saw the situation, it let out a sharp cry. It circled in the air and rushed towards the wind, trying to catch Xiaochen. However, the tacit understanding between Xiaochen and the golden eagle was insufficient. The golden eagle's huge body carried a huge force as it broke through the wind and smashed into Xiaochen's body. The dizzy Xiaochen was in an even more precarious situation when he was hit. The golden eagle knocked Xiaochen out of the wind. Xiaochen, who was in the air, could not circulate his essence smoothly. He fell from the sky like a kite with a broken string. It's over. I actually met with a white dragon storm. I won't fall to my death, right? Xiaochen turned pale with fright. He wanted to release the silver warship from his spiritual sense. However, the strange cold qi in the air had already invaded Xiaochen's mind. Just as he used his spiritual sense, an intense pain came from his mind. It was like countless steel needles pierced his mind. It was extremely painful, preventing him from concentrating. The so-called White Dragon Storm was a high-altitude storm that frequently appeared in the sky between Dongming Province and Shihe Province. The formation of this storm had always been a mystery. In the distant legends, a strong white dragon once died in battle in this sky during the ancient era. After the white dragon died, its dragon soul did not disperse. It kept roaming the sky. The storm was also formed by the white dragon. Because someone once saw a huge white dragon in the storm, this storm was called the White Dragon Storm. On the way here, Xiaochen had already heard of the legend of the White Dragon Storm. However, he did not take it to heart. This was because although the White Dragon Storm was horrifying, it had not appeared for decades. He did not expect his luck to be so bad. On the ground, a clear river appeared before Xiaochen's eyes. This caused his originally despaired face to reveal a trace of joy. However, the pain in his mind became more intense. A boundless essence filled his chest. This resentment seemed to have lasted for tens of thousands of years. It was like a 500-kilogram boulder was pressing on his heart. He felt like he was suffocating. There was a loud plop and Xiaochen's body fell from a height of several kilometers. He fell straight into the water. Falling from such a high place, even on the soft water surface, produced a huge impact. Even though Xiaochen's physical body was extremely strong, his internal organs still churned. He vomited a mouthful of blood and fainted with a pale complexion. Chapter 134. Xiaochen's body slowly sank into the river and flowed downstream. The blue dragon was fond of water. The instant Xiaochen fainted, it automatically breathed in and out. Hence, Xiaochen did not drown in the river. This continued for 3 days. The resentment in Xiaochen's mind did not disappear. Hence, he did not wake up and continued to struggle with the resentment. Finally, Xiaochen's body flowed to the bottom of a pool and stopped flowing. There was a special cold qi in the cold pool. Xiaochen lay at the bottom of the pool. The cold qi flowed through his skin and entered Xiaochen's body. This cold qi was different from the cold qi in the White Dragon Burst. It was not as tyrannical. Instead, it calmed one down. Under the nourishment of this cold qi, Xiaochen slowly opened his eyes. However, the resentment in his mind did not disappear. It tortured him continuously, causing him incomparable pain and preventing him from moving. Xiaochen felt like he was going crazy. Countless roars resounded in his mind. That white dragon seemed to be roaring beside his ear. He could not get rid of it, he could not kill it. Xiaochen did his best to calm himself down. He slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation, hoping that it could resist this strange feeling. After a while, the essence slowly circulated in his body. The feeling in Xiaochen's mind improved significantly. He could not help but rejoice. Pu ci. Just as Xiaochen was about to relax, the pain in his mind suddenly increased by several times. It was so painful that he wanted to cry out. However, he could not open his mouth in the water. The essence in his body immediately went out of control. The essence started to circulate chaotically in his meridians. Some of the essence even started to flow uncontrollably in the opposite direction. A horrifying phrase appeared in Xiaochen's mind, berserking qi deviation. To every cultivator, berserking qi deviation was a calamity. It was a phrase that would cause one's expression to change at the mention of it. If one could not find a reasonable solution, one's cultivation would be severely damaged. In serious cases, one's life would be in danger. With Xiaochen's current realm, the term qi deviation could be said to be completely out of his reach. As of now, he was only a superior grade martial master. Many of the meridians in his body had not been opened yet. The routes for his essence to circulate were limited. He did not meet the requirements for chi deviation at all. Normally, chi deviation would only occur when one's cultivation had reached the late-stage martial honor realm and more than half of the meridians in one's body had been opened. But because of the extremely strange resentment in his mind, it caused the true chi in his body to circulate chaotically, causing his meridians to flow in the opposite direction and go out of control. This was obviously the prelude to chi deviation. Xiao Qian was very anxious, but the pain in his head prevented him from concentrating. There was nothing he could do about the chaotic essence in his body. Pu. At this moment, a figure suddenly jumped down from the water. Xiao Qian saw a blurry figure through the hazy water. It was a beautiful naked body swimming wantonly on the water surface. Xiao Qian, who had never seen such a scene before, was immediately captivated. His attention instantly became focused. After Xiao Qian focused, the chaotic essence in his body started to slowly calm down. This surprised Xiao Qian. He circulated the purple thunder divine incantation once again and the pain in his head started to slowly disappear. Hua la la. Water splashed and the girl on the surface of the water slowly swam down with her eyes closed. Xiao Qian was astonished, the direction in which the girl swam down was right in front of him. As the distance got closer, the hazy feeling in the water slowly disappeared. The beautiful body of the girl appeared clearly in front of him. Disappointingly, a certain part of Xiao Qian's body had a reaction. Who? Suddenly, the girl opened her eyes. At the bottom of the pool, Xiao Qian and the girl were almost facing each other. They looked at each other in astonishment. For a moment, everything was silent. It was like the world was left with the sound of their heartbeats. The two of them just looked at each other without doing anything. The girl suddenly reacted. Her face flushed red and the ring on her right hand flickered. Suddenly, a slender saber about 2 fingers wide appeared in her hand. The saber gave off heat and the river water instantly evaporated. Countless bubbles rose from the pool. Boom! The water around her did not seem to be able to stop her movements. The saber moved quickly in the water, heading for Xiao Qian's neck. Xiao Qian was startled. Under the threat of death, his body, which could not move, suddenly dodged to the side. The saber split the water apart and struck the mud at the bottom of the pool, creating a large bubble. The girl's body was as agile as a fish in the water. In an instant, she caught up to Xiao Qian and sent another saber strike at him. Now that he could move again, Xiao Qian immediately executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art. He was like a flood dragon, leaping out of the water with a so sound. When the fresh air hit him, Xiao Qian took a deep breath. Pu Tong. After that, the girl's body also leaped out of the water, creating a large splash. The splash of water was like a saber strike at Xiao Qian. Xiao Qian did not dare to receive it head-on. He pushed off the water and landed firmly on the shore. The girl took advantage of this opportunity to grab the clothes on the shore. She quickly put them on in midair. By the time she landed, she was completely dressed, completely covering her body. When all the splashes of water fell into the pool, the surface of the water had calmed down. Xiao Qian finally saw the girl's appearance. Her long, wet, black hair flowed down her back. She wore a fiery red dress. Her voluptuous figure stood proudly on top of her exquisite figure. Her skin was as smooth as jade. She was like a lotus that had just emerged from the water, untainted by a speck of dust. This was a girl with a devilish figure and an angelic face. However, the girl was incomparably furious. Her face was flushed red, and her eyes looked like they were about to spit fire. Her red lips moved slightly, and a melodious voice came from her peach-like mouth. Damn perverted thief, you actually dared to peek at this lady bathing. The saber in her hand trembled slightly, giving off a melodious sound. It was as though it felt the anger of its owner. It could not stop shaking, and there were countless echoes in the air. Listening to the sword and communicating with it, Xiao Chen was incomparably astonished. This girl was actually the same as Ao Jiao. Her comprehension of weapons had also reached the state of listening to the sword and communicating with it. This was a state that many martial kings could only dream of. However, the current situation did not give Xiao Chen any time to be astonished. This was because the girl had already crossed the water with the saber in her hand. In an instant, she arrived before him. A resplendent light lit up on the saber. This was a technique that only martial grand masters could grasp. Essence infused into the saber, forming a saber light. Drawing the saber. Xiao Chen quickly drew his saber. The lunar shadow saber clashed with the saber light sent out by the girl. There was a loud sound, and the huge force contained in the saber light sent Xiao Chen flying. Xiao Chen was incomparably astonished. This was the first time he had been defeated by a martial grand master in terms of strength. Furthermore, it was under the situation of him drawing the saber. Who? Executing the blue dragon cloud soaring art, Xiao Chen's body paused strangely in the air. Then, he moved backward from a different angle. In a certain sense, this girl had saved Xiao Chen's life. However, Xiao Chen had no way of explaining it to her. The girl was currently in a fit of anger, so she would not be able to explain it clearly. For now, he would have to bear the title of perverted thief. He could only explain it to her in the future. Boom! Just when Xiao Chen thought that he would be able to shake off the girl by executing the blue dragon cloud soaring art, he discovered that the girl had appeared behind him like a ghost. A horrifying saber light hacked at him once again. Although Xiao Chen was astonished, he did not panic. He executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art to its limits. His figure soared through the air, moving left and right. He was like a soaring blue dragon, dancing on the ground. Boom! 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 However, the girl's body was like rubber, sticking to Xiao Chen's back. The horrifying saber light hacked at him continuously. There were a few times when he was nearly struck by the saber light. Damn perverted thief! If you have the guts, then stand still and fight to the death with this lady. If you are a man, then don't run, the girl scolded loudly as she attacked. When the saber light landed on the ground, it formed many small ravines. If one looked carefully, they would discover that these ravines seemed to have a strange charm to them. Xiao Chen walked for a few hundred meters, but he was still unable to shake off the girl's figure. He suddenly thought of one of the 6 secret techniques of the Battle Sage Origins, sticky character technique. No matter how fast the opponent was, as long as he used the sticky character technique, he would be able to catch up to the opponent. It was the most miraculous movement technique in the world. Xiao Chen could not help but be alarmed. If that was really the case, then he would not be able to shake off this girl unless his blue dragon cloud soaring art reached great perfection. This won't do, she will catch up to me sooner or later, Xiao Chen thought anxiously in his heart. After dodging another saber light, an idea appeared in his mind. Xiao Chen suddenly turned around quickly and looked at the girl. He said, "Look into my eyes." The girl's saber paused. It was obvious that she was stunned by Xiao Chen's sudden action. Who? A purple flame suddenly shot out from Xiao Chen's right eye. Bastard! When the saber light shot out, the girl was shocked for a moment. Then, she immediately swung her saber at the purple flame. A huge explosion resounded, forming a surging shockwave. The girl was forced back. When the shockwave scattered, Xiao Chen had already executed the lightning evasion. He leaped a few hundred meters and summoned the silver warship, soaring into the sky. When the young girl thought of Xiao Chen's earlier action, she could not help but scold herself for being foolish. He asked you to look, and you just look. You could have just chopped him to death. Why are you wasting your breath on him? I have offended you today. I will definitely repay you for saving my life in the future. Furthermore, I am really not a perverted thief. I hope you do not misunderstand, Xiao Chen's voice came from high up in the sky. The girl stomped her feet angrily. Her face turned red as she watched Xiaochen leave. She scolded, "You still say you are not a perverted thief? Even your worship is silver. With one look, I can tell you are not a good person." "Miss, what's wrong? Are you all right?" Not long after Xiaochen left, two female martial saints rushed over. The girl looked in the direction that Xiaochen left in and said, "I'm fine. I just met a scoundrel." Xiaochen piloted the silver warship and flew in the sky. He did not hear what the girl said. Otherwise, he would have dyed the silver warship a new color. Not long after, Xiaochen saw a large road and stopped. Now, many people knew that Xiaochen had a silver warship. It was better not to use it unless it was necessary. Chapter 135. I wonder where this place is and if I have reached Shihe province, Xiaochen said as he landed firmly on the ground and looked at the empty road. Xiaochen looked at the road carefully. There were clear footprints and car tracks on the road. This meant that there were many people on this road, it was just that there was no one there at the moment. After carefully checking the condition of his body and confirming that there were no major problems, Xiaochen then walked forward. The earlier experience was still fresh in his mind, causing him to be fearful. He did not dare to be careless. Why did he meet the white dragon storm that had not appeared for decades? Xiaochen could not figure out what was going on. The overwhelming resentment in his mind and the unforgettable pain made him feel that this was not a coincidence. White dragon, blue dragon. Could there be a connection between the two? Xiaochen thought suspiciously in his heart. He had not completely grasped the blue dragon martial spirit in his body. He did not know what use it had. Seeing that there was no one around, Xiaochen stopped. With a thought, the blue dragon martial spirit in his body slowly swam out of his dantian. It followed the meridians and headed for Xiaochen's arm. Everywhere it passed, Xiaochen felt a horrifying energy. Who? Under Xiaochen's control, the tiny blue dragon martial spirit came out and circled above Xiaochen's palm. After a cultivator reached the martial master realm, they could let their martial spirit leave their body. In battle, they could achieve unexpected results. However, after the martial spirit left their body, if they were injured, they could become a cripple. Unless it was the last resort, no cultivator would release their martial spirit. Unless a cultivator reached the martial king realm and cultivated their martial spirit to an immortal level, even if it was destroyed outside the body, it could be recovered immediately. Xiaochen looked at the tiny blue dragon circling in his hand. He could not understand it no matter how he thought about it. Aside from the energy you provide me and being stronger than normal martial spirits, I can't see any difference between you, an ancient holy beast, and other martial spirits. Shaking his head, Xiaochen recollected his thoughts. He recalled the blue dragon martial spirit back into his body and stopped thinking about this problem. The blue dragon martial spirit had been lost for 1,000 years. It was impossible to understand it immediately. There was no point in thinking about it. Xiaochen continued walking forward. After an hour, he finally met a passerby. He quickly asked this passerby where he was and whether he had reached Shihe province. The person held a sword in his hand and was dressed in white without a speck of dust. He answered without turning his head, Shihe province, Yuluo continent, Yunyang county city. Xiaochen ignored the attitude of this person. He recalled the map he saw in the past. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion was located in the Yuluo continent. It was not far from Yunyang city. Even on foot, it would only take 2 weeks. Joy appeared on Xiaochen's face as he extended his spiritual sense in a straight line. Finally, he saw a majestic city at the end of his spiritual sense. There were 2 bold words, Yunyang, written on the city gates. It had an ancient charm to it. Xiaochen withdrew his spiritual sense and pushed off the ground with his feet. He executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art and kicked up a cloud of dust. Xiaochen dashed forward and caught up to the person who spoke earlier in the blink of an eye. He overtook him like the wind, kicking up a large cloud of dust. I did not expect him to be an expert, the white-clothed person said indifferently as he looked in the direction Xiao Chen left. This person did not seem to make any movements, but when the dust landed on his clothes, it automatically slid off. The white-clothed person slowly walked out of the cloud of dust. His white clothes were not tainted by a speck of dust. Xiao Chen felt a strong gaze sweep past him. Then, it quickly disappeared. When he turned his head back, he did not discover anything. He only saw the cloud of dust he kicked up as he dashed forward. Yunyang City was already in front of him. Xiao Chen slowed down and slowly walked to the city gates. However, he discovered that there were many young girls standing in front of the city gates. They stood there like orioles. It was a different kind of scenery when he looked around. Is this the custom of Yunyang City? Xiao Chen said with some doubts. There were so many girls. It was likely that all the young girls in Yunyang City were here. When the group of girls saw Xiao Chen's figure, they were pleasantly surprised and quickly ran over. When they saw Xiao Chen's appearance, all of their faces were filled with disappointment. They cursed and left. Xiao Chen felt it was strange. When the guard at the city gates saw the situation, he smiled and said, "Don't be angry. The girls have been waiting for an entire morning. It is hard to avoid their temper." Xiao Chen paid the entrance tax. When he heard this, he could not help but find it funny. This was very similar to the girls who chased after idols in his previous life. He did not expect there to be such things in this world. He could not help but ask curiously, who is so charming that all the girls in Yunyang City came out to welcome him. The guard at the city gates looked at Xiao Chen in astonishment and said, "You don't even know about this? Today is the annual duel between Mu Qingxue and Leng Liusu. These girls are all here to see Mu Qingxue." This was not the first time Xiao Chen had heard of Mu Qingxue. When he heard this name again, it could not help but pique Xiao Chen's interest. So, he asked the guard about it. The guard was very talkative. When he saw Xiao Chen ask about it, he spoke eloquently. Mu Qingxue came from the Night Spirit Palace of the Southern Ridge. He was the young palace lord of the Night Spirit Palace. Together with Ji Changkong, they were known as the twin stars of the Southern Ridge. Xiao Chen's talent was very high, and he became famous at a young age. At the age of 12, aside from Ji Changkong, no one in the same generation could match him. That year, the two of them left the southern mountains at the same time and started to challenge young experts from all over the world. Ji Changkong went to the imperial capital, while Mu Qingxue went to Shihe and Dongming provinces. Among those of the same generation, the two of them were practically invincible. No one was a match for them. However, both of them had been defeated by a woman. Ji Changkong lost to Princess Yingyu. Mu Qingxue lost to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's little Heavenly Saber, Leng Liusu. 1 year later, Mu Qingxue came to Nanling province again and fought Leng Liusu. After the two of them exchanged more than 1,000 moves, they ended up in a draw. They agreed to fight again the next year. Just like that, it became a tradition. Every year, Mu Qingxue would come to Yunyang City to duel with Leng Liusu at this time. Aside from Mu Qingxue's outstanding talent, he was also very handsome. After a while, all the girls in Yunyang City came to know of him. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and gave his thanks. Then, he entered Yunyang City. Regardless of which world it was, the girls all seemed to have the potential to chase after their idols. Leng Liusu, could it be her? A beautiful figure appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. After a while, the more he thought about it, the more he felt it was possible. Xiao Chen could not help but feel a headache. The purpose of his trip was the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. In the end, before he even reached the mountain, he offended the most beloved daughter of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's pavilion master. Mu Qingxue is here. As Xiao Chen walked, a clamorous cheer came from behind him. Xiao Chen turned around and saw a white-clothed man holding a sword. He was surrounded by girls. There was a faint smile on his handsome face as he dealt with them one by one. Xiaoqin could not help but feel slightly astonished. This Mu Qingxue was actually the person he asked for directions from earlier. He could not help but smile faintly. This world is really strange. After Xiaoqin spoke, he turned around and left. The instant he turned around, he felt a strong gaze staring at him. This time, there was no attempt to hide it. The source of that gaze was Mu Qingxue. Xiaoqin resisted the urge to turn his head back. After he asked around where Yunyang City's Liushang Pavilion was, he quickly left. Among the crowd, Mu Qingxue, who was surrounded by girls, watched as Xiaoqin left. The corner of his mouth curled up into a faint smile. In Xiaoqian's left eye, a purple copper mirror floated in the boundless void. The light that the mirror gave off seemed to be able to see through the source of the entire world. That copper mirror flashed in his eye for a moment. No one noticed it. After asking around, Liushang Pavilion did indeed have a branch in Yunyang City. Xiaoqin took out a brick VIP card that Fatso gave him before he left. He could not help but sigh. This Fatso was indeed not bragging. No matter where you go, there is a Liushang Pavilion. The Liushang Pavilion in Yunyang City was the same as in Whitewater City. Business was booming. The basics were the same as well. Xiaoqin leaped over the first floor and headed for the second floor. A group of cultivators were discussing the duel that was going to take place today. Last year, the two of them fought to a draw. This is the third time they fought to a draw. In the end, Mu Qingxue still lost once. He could not defeat the top expert of our Shihe province. That might not be the case. The previous few times, Leng Liusu had the advantage of a weapon. This time, I heard that Mu Qingxue completed the Heavenly Gate test in the Night Spirit Palace and obtained a damaged holy weapon. I know that. That is a holy sword called Beauty Under the Moonlight. Some time ago, Mu Qingxue tested the sword and personally killed a martial saint. From the looks of it, Beauty Under the Moonlight is not much weaker than Leng Liusu's Flame Soul. They are both half-sages. This is going to be interesting. There were a few cultivators who were very insightful on the first floor. When they spoke, Xiaoqin could not help but stop and listen carefully. Make way, make way. Our young master Yan is here. Why are you not making way? Just at this moment, Yan Qianyun led a few servants up the first floor. The people on both sides moved aside. When Xiaoqin saw Yan Qianyun, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. He did not expect to see him here. Xiaoqin thought of a legend about Fatso. He looked at his crotch and could not help but smile. Xiaoqin did not want to cause trouble. When Yan Qianyun walked past him, he moved aside and made way for him. Yan Qianyun brought his men and walked past Xiaoqin. He hurriedly glanced at Xiaoqin and took 2 steps before turning back. Why do I find you somewhat familiar? Have we met before? Yan Qianyun asked carefully as he stared into Xiaoqin's eyes. Xiaoqin was not worried. Aside from changing one's appearance, the shape-shifting spell could also change a person's aura and voice. He smiled and said, maybe I met you once in the crowd. It is not strange to find you familiar. Yan Qianyun smiled faintly and thought for a while before saying, that's true. Maybe we met once, or maybe I recognized the wrong person. Goodbye. Boom. Yan Qianyun, who had not taken a step forward, suddenly turned around and kicked at Xiaoqin's chest. Xiaoqin revealed a cold smile and did not resist. His abdomen shrank slightly. Bang! The might of Yan Qianyun's kick was very strong. It sent Xiaoqin flying. However, because Xiaoqin was prepared, he only suffered some superficial wounds. Chapter 136. Yan Qianyun frowned slightly, feeling it was strange. After a while, he tossed out a banknote and said, I'm sorry, I think I might have recognized the wrong person. After Yan Qianyun left for a long time, the second floor became noisy again. A kind-hearted cultivator helped Xiaoqin up and said, Little brother, are you all right? Xiao Chen picked up the banknote and smiled faintly. I'm fine. I was beaten up for no reason. However, I picked up a banknote worth 1,000 silver taels, so it's fine. On the third floor, in front of a hidden window, Yan Qianyun looked at Xiao Chen's expression after he got up. He said doubtfully, could I have seen wrong? However, I clearly did not see wrongly from his gaze earlier. He observed for a long time, but in the end, he could not find anything wrong. He shook his head, unable to figure it out. He said to the people beside him, there is something wrong with that brat. You guys go out and take a look. Young Master Leng and I still have matters to attend to, so we will take our leave first. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense had been following behind Yan Qianyun. When he withdrew his spiritual sense, he could not help but sigh in his heart. It looks like this fellow suffered a huge blow the last time. He is already in such a state, yet he can still recognize me. Not long after, all the cultivators on the second floor left. Xiao Chen knew that the duel between Ling Liusu and Mu Qingxue was about to begin. This group of people had been looking forward to it for a year. There was no reason for them to not go and watch. Xiao Chen was not in a rush to leave. He did not want to participate in the duel between Mu Qingxue and Ling Liusu. Mu Qingxue gave him a very dangerous feeling. That feeling was only felt when he faced Chu Chaoyun. As for Ling Liusu, there was no need to even mention it. After eating, Xiao Chen casually glanced at the third floor. He revealed a mocking smile and called the waiter over. He prepared to pay the bill and leave. On the third floor, a few of Yan Qianyun's attendants were watching Xiao Chen carefully. When the waiter went over to collect the money, he happened to block Xiao Chen's figure. After he collected the money, cleaned up the leftover food on the table and left, they strangely discovered that Xiao Chen had disappeared. Where is he? Where did he go? I clearly saw him there just now. Why did I not see the waiter after he went over? Seeing Xiao Chen disappear right before their eyes, they turned pale with fright and hurriedly ran down. One of them grabbed the waiter's clothes and shouted, where is he? Where did that person go? The waiter rolled his eyes and said disdainfully, after eating and paying, of course he's leaving. I'm asking how you left. The waiter pushed his hand away and said snappily, I'll only say it once. Leave with your feet. Don't disturb me again. Thank you. The waiter's attitude made the man anxious, he wanted to make a move on the spot. A few people quickly stopped him and explained the background of Liushang Pavilion to him. The few of them looked around, but they could not find any traces of Xiao Chen. They all thought that Xiao Chen had already left Liushang Pavilion. Thinking of Yan Qianyun's instructions, they quickly gave chase. Using the shape-shifting spell, Xiao Chen shrunk his body and stuck it to the bottom of the dining table. Seeing the four of them go far away, Xiao Chen jumped out. His body gave off a crackling sound as he returned to his normal height. He extended out his spiritual sense and discovered that Yan Qianyun was on the 5th floor with a black-clothed man. That black-clothed man was extremely strong. His aura was much stronger than Yan Qianyun's, he was like an unsheathed treasured saber. Xiao Chen did not dare to get too close with his spiritual sense. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen headed directly to the 4th floor. He flashed the VIP card that Fatso gave him, his path was unimpeded. What made Xiao Chen slightly astonished was that there was no one on the 3rd and 4th floors. It looked like the duel between Ling Liusu and Mu Qingxue was very attractive. Xiao Chen arrived at the staircase between the 4th and 5th floor. This was the only way from the 5th floor to the 4th floor. He looked carefully and took out 2 grade 3 talismans from his universe ring. After that, he sprinkled some spirit beast saliva on them. This kind of saliva was very sticky. Once it came in contact with it, it would be impossible to tear it off. After doing all this, Xiao Chen found a booth on the 4th floor and sat down. Brother Leng, is this matter really reliable? Does Ling Liusu really only have 2 martial saints by her side? Yan Qianyun asked solemnly as he looked at the person opposite him from the 5th floor. Xiaochen frowned. What is he trying to do? Could it be that Yan Qianyun wants to make a move on Leng Liusu? With a thought, Xiaochen could not help but focus his spiritual sense. The black-clothed man opposite him had a grave and stern expression as he said, Leng Tianyue, have prepared for many years just for this day. Do you think there will be any accidents? Yan Qianyun laughed dryly. This matter is very important. I have to get to the bottom of this. However, let me say this first. I am only responsible for sending people to lure away the two martial saints. You can handle the rest yourself. Leng Tianyue's stern face did not reveal any expression. He said indifferently, you just need to lure away the two of them. You don't have to care about anything else. I have already told your father about the benefits after this is done. The two of them chatted for a long time before a messenger pigeon flew into Leng Tianyue's hands. He removed the note on the pigeon's leg and smiled after a while. It is actually a draw again. Ha, I suddenly understand Mu Qingshue's motive. Let's go, Brother Yan, it is time for us to make our move. The two of them got up and walked down the stairs. The instant they went down, they each stepped on a talisman. The talisman was as light as a feather and stuck to the bottom of their shoes. They did not feel anything at all. Seeing the two of them leave, Xiaochen smiled faintly and slowly stood up. His spiritual sense turned into a strand of silk, entangling the two of them. Should I get involved in this mess? Xiaochen said with some apprehension in his heart. This person with the surname Leng was obviously someone from within the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The fight in front of him was a fight for the inheritance of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Every strong power had countless factions. Xiaochen did not find this strange. Even if he saw it, he would not care. However, if Leng Liusu was the girl from earlier, it would be inexcusable if he did not help her. In the end, Xiaochen made up his mind, if she is really that girl, it would be good to repay this favor. Xiaochen followed the two of them from a distance. Due to the aid of his spiritual sense, Xiaochen could easily follow the two of them. After a while, he followed them out of the east gate. The further they went, the more they deviated. Eventually, they could not see anyone on the main road. Xiaochen felt that something was wrong. After hesitating for a while, he decided to follow them. After taking a few steps forward, he discovered Leng Tianyue and Yan Qianyun looking at him with a smile on their faces. Leng Tianyue slowly walked over. There was no expression on his grave and stern face. He said coldly, "Who sent you?" Yan Qianyun, who was at the side, smiled, "Brother Leng, leave this person to me. He is here for me. You just need to take the token and inform them." Leng Tianyue glanced at Xiaochen. When he saw that he was only a superior grade martial master, he relaxed. As a medial grade martial grand master, Yan Qianyun should be able to kill this person easily. Let's meet up soon after we are done. After Leng Tianyue left, Yan Qianyun slowly walked over to Xiaochen. He smiled coldly, "Xiaochen, I did not expect to meet you here. I have waited for this day for a long time. How do you want to die?" Xiaochen muttered to himself for a while before saying, "I have a question. How did you recognize me? I felt that I had hidden myself very well. How did you discover me?" Yan Qianyun faced the sky and laughed loudly. He said, "I will never forget the look you gave me that day. Before you die, I will let you understand. Leng Tianyue has a secret treasure on him. When you walked out of Liushang Pavilion, he already discovered you." Xiaochen nodded. "So that's how it is. I wonder what kind of secret treasure it is to be able to discover me from so far away." However, this was no longer important. Xiaochen smiled faintly and said gently to Yan Qianyun, "Many thanks for your explanation. You can die now." Yan Qianyun snorted coldly. He felt that it was funny and said, "Do you really think you are a match for me?" "I explode." Before Yan Qianyun could finish speaking, Xiaochen formed a hand seal and the rank 3 fire cloud talisman under Yan Qianyun's feet exploded. A flame carrying a surging shockwave spread out in all directions. The huge might blasted Yan Qianyun into the sky. Being struck by a rank 3 offensive talisman was equivalent to the full-powered strike of a peak martial Grand Master. Yan Qianyun was caught off guard and immediately lost all his combat prowess. Using drawing the saber, Xiaoqin leaped into the air. There was a flash of saber light and a swarthy black head separated from the charred body. After that, it fell to the ground with a bang. Xiaoqin landed firmly on the ground and looked expressionlessly at Yan Qianyun's corpse. He took off the spatial ring in his hand and took out all the things inside with a huang dang sound. Tens of inferior-grade spirit stones, some medicinal pills, and banknotes fell to the ground. An ancient book entered Xiaoqian's eyes. Inherited martial technique, Dragon Seizing Hand. The so-called inherited martial technique could only be practiced by those who inherited the martial spirit. However, Xiaoqin had the battle sage origins changing character formula, he could imitate it. He took a quick look and placed it into the universe ring. Closing his eyes, Xiaoqin felt the talisman under Ling Tianyue's feet. That talisman had Xiaoqian's essence blood imprinted on it. Even from 1,000 kilometers away, he could still feel it clearly. A faint yellow dot appeared in his mind. Xiaoqin opened his eyes and summoned out the silver warship. He leaped onto it and flew off like a bolt of silver lightning. After a while, Xiaoqin arrived at where Ling Tianyue was. Because he was afraid of his secret treasure, Xiaoqin hid in a cloud and observed the situation on the ground. On the ground, Ling Tianyue wore a black veil as he stood there quietly. In front of him, there were 4 martial grand masters wearing the same veil surrounding Ling Liusu. In the cloud, Xiaoqin used his spiritual sense to sense the situation on the ground. After he looked carefully at the appearance of the girl, he finally confirmed that the person being surrounded was indeed the girl he met in the pool of water. If they want to kill a peak martial grand master with an inherited martial spirit, this lineup is not enough. Xiaoqin stood at the bow of the warship and said doubtfully, they need at least 2 martial saints to be absolutely safe. Chapter 137. Slowly, Xiaoqin figured out something. These 4 martial grand masters had a set of joint martial techniques. Every move was connected. Furthermore, they had practiced it for a long time. Their coordination was very good. Saber lights flickered and energy flew everywhere. Explosive shouts came from the battlefield. The slender saber in Ling Liusu's hand gave off a horrifying light. The wind howled and dust flew everywhere. Small cracks appeared on the ground. As the saber moved, there seemed to be a trace of the Tao, giving off the faint might of a sage. Ling Liusu's figure was surrounded by the 4. She dodged left and right, continuously using the sticky character technique. However, she was still unable to break out of their encirclement. However, she did not show any panic on her face. She swung her saber and the saber light paused, blocking the joint attack of the 4. Then, she looked at Ling Tianyue, who was standing at the side. A cold chi appeared on her pretty face as she said in a sullen voice, Ling Tianyue, do you really want to kill me that badly? Is the position of successor so attractive to you? Are you not afraid of your father punishing you after he finds out about all this? Ling Tianyue's expression could not be seen under the veil. He did not reply to Ling Liusu's question and said indifferently, trash. This is a joint martial technique that can easily take down a martial saint. It has been almost half an hour and you still have not taken her down. When the 4 heard Ling Tianyue's reprimand, they could not help but increase the strength in their hands. They launched even more ferocious attacks at Ling Liusu. Phoenix Cry. Dragon Roar. Tiger Roar. Black Tortoise. When the 4 saw that they could not take her down after a long time, they steeled their hearts and shouted. They leaped up from the ground. They executed the most ferocious move of their joint martial technique. 4 images materialized on their weapons, Divine Phoenix, Blue Dragon, White Tiger, and Black Tortoise. These ancient holy beasts appeared in the formation, as though they came to life. 4 images into one. Countless holy beast cries resounded. When the faint might of the holy beasts merged together, it felt like it was suffocating. Even the air seemed to have solidified under this might. Xiao Chen stood at the bow of the warship. He was mildly astonished. He looked carefully for a while and finally discovered that the martial spirits of these 4 people had a trace of the bloodline of holy beasts. Although it was very diluted, when released together, the power was still incomparably terrifying. He really did not know where Leng Tianyue found these 4 people. Looking at their coordination, they should have trained together since they were young. Leng Liusu frowned slightly. Her red dress fluttered in the strong wind. When she saw the 4 divine beasts merge into one, she did not show much fear. The wind howled, her hair danced in the wind, and her long dress flowed like waves. Together with her beautiful face and impressive figure, she stood straight on the ground like an ancient Valkyrie. Flame soul, Saint's fury, flame dance. Leng Liusu held the saber in her right hand and slowly slid it across the palm of her left hand. Fresh blood flowed down the saber and dripped onto the ground. Under the summons of the fresh blood, the ancient sage within the sacred weapon seemed to come alive. As expected, it is a weapon used by a sage. What a formidable aura of righteousness! Xiao Chen, who was within the clouds, said in shock. Boom! The flames on the ground burned into the sky. There was a furious roar coming from the red flames. It was like it traveled through time and space, lasting for tens of thousands of years. Leng Liusu stood in the flames. The flickering light of the flames illuminated her flushed face. She leaped into the air and the saber carried boundless flames as it flew into the sky. Bang! It was like breaking a dead branch. With just one saber strike, the flames that carried the might of a sage instantly shattered. The 4 divine beasts merged into one. The divine phoenix shattered, the black tortoise fled, the blue dragon was chopped, and the white tiger was burned to a pile of ashes. Bang! 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 The 4 of them landed heavily on the ground. Their martial spirits had suffered a fatal blow. Their complexions were incomparably pale, and they would not be able to fight for a short period of time. Ka Xie. Just at this moment, Leng Tianyue suddenly made his move. A cold light appeared, and with a flash of saber light, Leng Tianyue appeared beside Leng Liusu. This saber strike was extremely fast, and the timing was very accurate. It happened to be the moment when Leng Liusu was exhausted from the might of the sage. If Leng Liusu had a moment to recover, the chances of this saber strike injuring her would be much smaller. Even though Leng Liusu had already anticipated Leng Tianyue's attack, she was unable to dodge it. The saber slashed across, leaving a horrifying wound on Leng Liusu's chest. Blood spurted out wildly into the air. She frowned slightly and revealed a pained expression. She swung the saber in her hand forward ferociously. When the saber struck Leng Tianyue's body, it was like it was striking air. It was only an afterimage left in the air. Leng Tianyue's body had already flashed to her side. He snorted coldly and kicked Leng Liusu, sending her flying to the ground. The force of this kick was very strong. After Leng Liusu landed on the ground, she slid backward continuously. Her saber stabbed into the ground, creating a long ditch. Only then did her body slow down. Leng Tianyue did not say anything, he did not want to give Leng Liusu any chance. His figure flashed in the air as he landed on the ground and a resplendent saber light appeared on his saber. He chopped at Leng Liusu, who was on the ground. Leng Liusu barely managed to raise her saber to block. However, she could not block it at all. Her body flew back like a cannonball and landed heavily on the ground. Xiao Chen's expression changed. He did not expect the situation on the battlefield to change in such a short period of time. Originally, when he saw Leng Liusu deal with the 4 people, he did not need to make a move. Lightning descend. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky and successfully stopped Leng Tianyue from advancing. Xiaoqin executed the changing character formula and imitated Ji Changkong's martial technique. He turned into a meteor and quickly descended to the ground. Ling Tianyue looked at the meteor in the sky and frowned. Nanling Ji clan's martial technique, Ji Changkong is here. That's not right, this is not a pure Ji clan martial technique. Trying to act mysterious, I'll show you your true colors. Ling Tianyue laughed coldly and leaped into the air, leaving behind a series of afterimages. Ling Tianyue's speed was at its peak. The saber lit up and chopped at Xiaoqin. Explode! Xiaoqin revealed himself and shouted. A fiery red firework soared into the sky. Before Ling Tianyue could understand what was going on, he was already blasted into pieces. His body was thrown high into the air by the shockwave. Purple thunder, true fire, shoot! Looking at Ling Tianyue in the air, Xiaoqin could feel that the rank 3 exploding talisman had completely struck him, but he did not suffer any fatal injuries. Xiaoqin could not help but tighten his heart. A purple flame revolved around his finger and shot towards Ling Tianyue. A layer of protective true qi appeared on Ling Tianyue's body. When the purple flame struck it, it gave off a loud explosion. The shockwave from the explosion threw his body even further into the sky. However, it could not do anything to him. Xiaoqian's spiritual sense pierced through the protective true qi and saw a jade pendant on Ling Tianyue's chest. It gave off a faint glow. This should be his secret treasure. The protective true qi should have come from this secret treasure. Xiaoqin landed on the ground and looked at Ling Liusu, who had lost a lot of blood and was pale. She was so weak that she had fainted. After hesitating for a while, Xiaoqin carried her on his shoulder and rushed forward. He executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art and danced on the ground. In the blink of an eye, he was already far away. After a long time, Ling Tianyue descended from the sky. His clothes were torn and the scarf on his black face was nowhere to be seen. He struggled to stand up and watched as Xiaoqin carried Ling Liusu away. His eyes revealed a complicated expression as he muttered, "Man proposes, God disposes." He turned around and stabbed the 4 cultivators on the ground. After that, he walked expressionlessly in the direction of Yunyang City. His figure seemed very lonely. Xiaoqin carried Ling Liusu and walked for a long time. When he arrived at a forest, he felt that there were no pursuers behind him. Only then did he stop. He slowly placed Ling Liusu on a big tree. When Xiaoqin saw the horrifying wound on her chest, he was astonished. Ling Tianyue's attack was very ruthless. Not only was it extremely fast, it was shockingly strong as well. The golden armor on Ling Liusu's chest was torn. At this moment, it was dyed red with blood. Blood continued to flow out of the wound. Xiaoqin pressed on a few acupoints on Ling Liusu's chest and stopped the bleeding. After that, he slowly removed her outer clothes. In the end, he discovered that this was not very realistic. Ling Liusu was wearing a long red dress. The top and bottom were connected. If he wanted to remove it, he would have to remove the entire dress. Naturally, Xiaoqin could not do something like removing everything. He could only take out a small knife and slowly cut open the cloth. As the clothes were slowly cut open, large patches of snow-white skin appeared before Xiaoqian's eyes. It was a little dazzling. Xiaoqin composed himself and carefully cleaned the wound. Some of the cloth was stuck to the wound. Xiaoqin slowly removed it. The unconscious Ling Liusu groaned in pain. Xiaoqin could not help but become gentler. After cleaning the wound, Xiaoqin took out a blood-replenishing pill from the universe ring. After he crushed it, he slowly applied it on the wound. After that, he took out another blood-replenishing pill and fed it to her. After doing all this, Xiaoqin slowly relaxed. Luckily, the wound did not injure her heart. However, the wound was rather deep. With the medicinal strength of the blood-replenishing pill, there should not be any problems after it was applied externally. Xiaoqin took out a set of clean clothes from the universe ring and draped them over her body. Leng Liusu's pale face looked very weak. Xiao Chen suddenly felt that this scene was somewhat familiar. Suddenly, he thought about the time he met Princess Yingyu in Gloomy Forest. She was also like this. No matter how strong a woman was, she would always have a gentle side. Xiao Chen took out a bottle of qi returning pills and a bottle of blood replenishing pills. Then, he took out a slip of paper introducing the medicinal pills and placed it beside Leng Liusu. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and leaped onto a large tree at the side. Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged and calmed himself down. He entered a state of cultivation and unleashed his aura. The surrounding wandering wild beasts did not dare to get close to him. Time passed quickly and night fell quickly. Although Xiao Chen was immersed in a state of cultivation, he still left a strand of his spiritual sense beside Leng Liusu to monitor her condition. "Father, don't go." Chapter 138. In the middle of the night, Xiao Chen was sitting on a tree branch when he heard a weak murmur. He slowly descended from the tree and walked to Leng Liusu's side. Leng Liusu's pale face was covered in sweat. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted together and her breathing was very rapid. It was clear that she was having a nightmare and was under a lot of pressure. Xiao Chen placed his hand on her forehead and slowly sent in a gentle stream of essence. Because Xiao Chen cultivated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, his essence had a trace of the effects of immortal qi. After a while, Leng Liusu's expression slowly turned gentle. Her breathing slowly stabilized and her eyebrows relaxed. Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief and stopped sending in his essence. He withdrew his hand and prepared to leave. "Pooh!" Just as Xiao Chen released his hand, Leng Liusu grabbed it. Leng Liusu closed her eyes and seemed to be talking in her sleep. "Father, don't go. Don't leave Liusu behind." Her grip was very tight. Xiao Chen blushed with shame. He smiled bitterly in his heart. "Girl, you have mistaken me for someone else. Don't grab me so tightly." Xiao Chen did his best to pry her hand away. However, he discovered that if he did not use his essence, he would not be able to do so. Even if he used his essence, he was afraid of waking her up. So he could only sit down slowly. He did not dare to make any big movements. He could not even sleep or cultivate. He just stood guard at the side with his eyes wide open. The night sky was heavy in the quiet forest. One could not even see their fingers when they stretched out their hands. Xiao Chen sat beside Leng Liusu and listened to her steady breathing. He did not move at all and felt extremely bitter. When the sky was about to brighten, Xiao Chen finally felt Leng Liusu's grip loosen a little. He quickly struggled free. Xiao Chen checked Leng Liusu's internal injuries again and discovered that they were no longer a problem. She just needed to rest for a while. When Xiao Chen stood up, he felt his back aching. He had not slept for the entire night and was clearly fatigued. Xiao Chen patted his cheeks and looked to the east. He looked at the white sky and prepared to leave this place. "You unintentionally saved my life. Now, I have saved your life and even accompanied you for a night. We are even." Xiao Chen smiled gently as he looked at Leng Liusu. After taking 2 steps, he suddenly stopped, feeling as if he had lost something. He murmured, "Am I worse than a beast? You're a living example of a beautiful woman lying next to you for an entire night, yet you don't have any reaction at all. That's not right." Xiao Chen quickly retreated and looked at Leng Liusu's pretty face. He took a deep breath and quickly planted a kiss on her forehead. After that, he immediately dodged and rushed forward. Leng Liusu, who was in a deep sleep, did not react. When the sky brightened and the first ray of sunlight shone on her face, she slowly woke up. Leng Liusu opened her eyes slightly. She was not used to the piercing light. She looked at the jacket draped over her body and revealed a doubtful expression. "Did someone save me? Who could it be?" Before she fainted yesterday, the last image in Leng Liusu's mind was a bolt of lightning tearing through the sky. She could not remember anything else. She slowly stood up and placed the jacket she was wearing to the side. In the end, she discovered that her jacket was torn beyond recognition, revealing a lot of her skin. She could not help but blush. What surprised her was that the wound on her chest had miraculously healed in just one night. The wound had already scabbed over. Although there was still some numbness, it was clear that it was no longer a problem. Furthermore, it was treated in time. It would not leave any scars in the future. Who saved me? This person should not be from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Leng Liusu's heart was filled with questions. If he was, he would definitely be by my side, guarding me. Suddenly, she vaguely remembered the dream she had the night before. It seemed like she saw her deceased father appear beside her. She even held his hand and told him not to leave her. It felt like it was real. Leng Liusu took out a set of clothes from her spatial ring. After she changed, she suddenly discovered 2 bottles of medicinal pills on the ground. She bent over and picked them up. When she opened them, a dense medicinal fragrance wafted out. It was clear that these medicinal pills were of a very high grade. She picked up the slip of paper that introduced the medicinal pills and read it carefully. The suspicions in her heart grew stronger. Who was it that saved me? Furthermore, they arranged everything so meticulously. She walked around but did not discover anything. She could not help but feel disappointed. She lowered her head and leaned against the tree again. However, she was astonished to discover that there were indeed traces of someone sitting there. Furthermore, it was not for a short period of time. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion was one of the 3 great sects of the Great Qin nation. It had been passed down since the Tianwu dynasty. It had been passed down for tens of thousands of years. In the hearts of the people of the Great Qin nation, it was a holy land. As the name suggested, this was a sect that specialized in saber techniques. The martial techniques of the sect, be it movement techniques or mental cultivation techniques, were all related to saber techniques. It was a holy land for those who studied the saber. The Misty Sword sect was in the east and west, 1 saber and 1 sword. Since ancient times, the saber and the sword had never coexisted. The 2 sects had often fought in history, but the strength of the 2 sects had always been equal, and there was no clear winner. However, in recent years, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had suffered from a mysterious disaster 20 years ago. Many of the experts of the older generation in the sect had died, resulting in their strength dropping significantly. Even so, no one dared to underestimate the strength of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. They had not lost the martial techniques that had been passed down for tens of thousands of years. The system was still there. Sooner or later, they would reach the peak. It was located in the Lingyun mountain range, one of the 4 great mountain ranges in the Great Qin nation. There were 7 large peaks on the mountain, and it was one of the places with the most abundant spiritual energy in the Great Qin nation. If a cultivator cultivated here all year round, their cultivation would advance much faster than elsewhere. Furthermore, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had a perfect martial technique system and countless cultivation resources. As a result, the number of people joining the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was always full every year. At the foot of the Lingyun mountain range, there was a city no smaller than White City, called Saber City. Saber City was a city that belonged directly to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The land, shops, auction houses, and exchanges all belonged to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Saber City was also known as the outer sect of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Every year, the inner sect of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would have 1 month to recruit disciples with outstanding talent to enter the inner sect. If one missed this 1 month, they would not have the opportunity to enter the inner sect of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. They could only take the test in the outer sect. There would be an opportunity to advance every half a year. Even the outer sect was not a place that just anyone could enter. Those who had not become a martial master before the age of 15 would not even have the opportunity to take the test. The threshold for the outer sect was already so high. It was easy to imagine how strict the requirements for the inner sect of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion were. Even so, there would still be a large number of bladesmen entering this place every year. This was already the holy land of all bladesmen. As a bladesman, if they did not go to Saber City, if they did not attempt the famous heavenly saber morning soul formation, if they did not meet the famous bladesmen who lived here, it would be a great regret for them. After Xiao Chen and Leng Liusu parted for half a month, they finally arrived at the famous Saber City. Because they had been wrongly accused along the way, they had wasted a lot of time. Saber City was already in sight. There were many cultivators carrying large sabers on their backs. Some of them carried several sabers on their backs. Xiao Chen even saw a few earth-ranked spirit weapons. Before he entered Saber City, he could already feel the atmosphere. The feelings of bladesmen for the saber. In this place, if you did not carry a saber, you would be embarrassed to walk on the road. This was because when Xiao Chen walked on the road empty-handed, he was looked down upon. Everyone looked at him with a strange expression. There were even some extreme bladesmen who thought that he was being disrespectful to Saber City. Their gazes revealed killing intent. Xiao Chen felt very depressed. For the sake of convenience in combat, Xiao Chen did not equip the lunar shadow saber with a scabbard. If he took out the lunar shadow saber now, it would be too inconvenient. In the end, Xiao Chen could not stand the gazes of this group of people. He prepared to equip the lunar shadow saber with a scabbard before entering Saber City. Before entering the city, he was already being looked down upon. If he entered the city, he was afraid that someone would challenge him to a duel. On the two sides of Saber City, there were countless weapon shops. There were several sabers placed in front of these weapon shops. Xiao Chen asked around and found out that as long as one was strong enough to pick up one of these sabers, they would be able to obtain the saber for free. When Xiao Chen heard this, he smiled faintly and said, "This is interesting. I wonder how many sabers I can pick up with my physical strength." However, Xiao Chen did not have the time or interest to do so. He casually walked into a weapon shop and looked around. The shop only had sabers, there were no other weapons. There were all sorts of sabers, horse-chopping sabers, horizontal sabers, padeos, long sabers, thick sabers, and some sabers that Xiao Chen did not know the names of. This was an eye-opener for Xiao Chen. What was even more surprising was that these sabers all had some moonstone in them. They were all spirit weapons, there were even some profound ranked spirit weapons. This was truly shocking. An ordinary shop outside of Saber City actually had so many spirit weapons for sale. Here, spirit weapons were like goods sold at street stalls. There were not many people in the shop, business was very quiet. Xiao Chen looked around for a while and an idea popped up in his mind. There were so many spirit weapons here. If he casually bought a few and sold them, he would be able to make a huge profit. Xiao Chen looked at the shop owner and asked, "Boss, how much are the sabers here?" The shop owner was an old man in his 70s. His skinny face was filled with wrinkles, but he did not look lethargic. He gave off a very spirited feeling. The old man sized up Xiao Chen and smiled warmly. "You have not obtained the qualifications to enter the outer sect, right? In that case, you do not have the qualifications to purchase them." Xiao Chen was stunned, he did not expect there to be such a rule. He felt like he had been seen through. He smiled awkwardly, "I wonder if I can customize a scabbard." The old man smiled, "That is possible. Take out your saber and let me take a look." This old man's attitude was very gentle, making people feel at ease. Xiao Chen did not hesitate and took out the lunar shadow saber and handed it over to the old man. The old man held the lunar shadow saber in his hand and gently caressed it. His expression did not change as he smiled gently, "This is a good saber. I have not seen such a saber in many years. The arc of the saber is somewhere between a katana and a horizontal saber. The control of the flow is near perfect." Chapter 139. It takes into account both the strength and beauty of the saber. It is close to 2 meters long. Without a certain level of skill, one would not dare to forge this saber. It should be the work of a famous person, it has the style of the Haotian sect. Xiao Qin was surprised. He did not expect this old man to be able to guess so much just from the saber. However, the Haotian sect had already become a taboo topic. If this old man wanted to test him, Xiao Qin might get into trouble. Senior must be joking. The Haotian sect has already been destroyed for such a long time. How could my saber have the style of the Haotian sect? Xiao Qin denied. The old man handed the lunar shadow saber to Xiao Qin and smiled faintly. Young man, don't be in a rush to deny anything. I have not confirmed anything yet. You need to remain calm so that you can hide yourself better. If you are in a rush to deny it, you will be exposed even faster. Although the Haotian sect was destroyed, the number of weapons they passed down is still very large. You don't have to worry about this. This old man does not care about these things. Xiao Qin was startled. He received the lunar shadow saber and looked at the old man's warm smile again. He felt a chill run down his spine. He was unfathomable. He smiled embarrassedly. Many thanks for senior's teachings. I wonder how long this scabbard will take to complete. It is just a smelly old man. It is just that he has lived for a long time. It cannot be said to be teachings. I have a ready-made scabbard for your saber. After the old man spoke, he took out a dusty scabbard from the cabinet and wiped it gently. The old man's expression was very solemn. It was as though it was not a scabbard but something he loved the most. After a while, an extremely ancient-looking scabbard appeared before Xiao Qin in its entirety. Xiao Qin received the scabbard. He shook it and the lunar shadow saber entered the scabbard perfectly. The lunar shadow saber instantly disappeared after it entered the scabbard. If not for Xiao Qin holding it in his hand, he would not have been able to feel its existence. The old man revealed a smile. Xiao Qin's face was filled with shock. How could this be a coincidence? This scabbard was simply made for the lunar shadow saber. There was nothing strange about it at all. It was like it had been waiting there quietly for countless years, waiting for the lunar shadow saber to arrive. Xiao Qin recovered from his shock. Although he felt strange, he was very satisfied with this scabbard. He asked, how much is this scabbard worth? 10 inferior grade spirit stones. Xiao Qin was stunned for a while. Then, he smiled and said, Senior, did you say it wrong or did I hear it wrong? 10 inferior grade spirit stones is enough to purchase a superior grade profound ranked spirit weapon. How can a scabbard be so expensive? Don't you think it's not worth it? Young man, this price is really not expensive at all. Feel it carefully. Don't you feel anything different? The old man's expression did not change at all. He had a faint smile on his face as he spoke indifferently. Xiao Qin thought hatefully, this guy is really old and cunning. It's like he's going to eat me alive. Although 10 inferior grade spirit stones was not much to Xiao Qin, it was not something he could casually take out. He had only obtained 20 inferior grade spirit stones from Yan Qianyin's body. In the end, Xiao Qin still handed the 10 inferior grade spirit stones to him. He really liked this scabbard and did not want to miss it. Young man, since the saber is already sheathed, don't casually draw it out. If anyone in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion finds out that you possess the Thunder King's inheritance, you will die a miserable death. When Xiao Qin, who had already reached the door, heard this, he suddenly stopped. Cold sweat broke out on his back as he slowly turned around. There was a trace of killing intent in Xiao Qin's eyes as he stared at the smiling old man. His right hand grasped the saber hilt, preparing to draw it at any moment. Old man, you seem to know too much. Xiao Qin focused all his attention on the old man. His heart was filled with shock. The Thunder King's inheritance was his greatest secret. This secret was even more important than the Blue Dragon martial spirit. The Thunder King had made too many enemies in his life. In his later years, he mysteriously disappeared and finally fell. This left too many questions for the future generations. This old man only took a glance at the lunar shadow saber and discovered Xiao Chen's identity. This was truly shocking. If the secret of him possessing the Thunder King's inheritance was exposed, he would not be strong enough, and he did not have an invincible backer. It would not be that he did not have a place in the great Qin nation. The entire world would kill him for his treasures. The experts of the older generation would not be able to resist the temptation to make a move. Facing Xiao Chen's undisguised killing intent, the old man's expression did not change. He smiled faintly and said, "Little friend, it seems like you do not respect the old and cherish the young. This is not good." Dang! As soon as the old man finished speaking, the doors in the shop swayed and closed. The moment the doors closed, the space in the shop instantly darkened. Xiao Chen looked around and was horrified to discover that the surrounding shelves seemed to have disappeared. When he looked around, there was only a boundless darkness. He could not see the end. Ka-xie. Xiao Chen drew his saber and a cold light flashed on the pitch-black blade of the lunar shadow saber. There was a flash of saber light as he executed drawing the saber. Xiao Chen leaped into the air. He decided to make the first move and attack the old man. The old man's expression did not change as he stood in front of him. However, Xiao Chen felt that the distance between him and the old man was worlds apart. Xiao Chen maintained his posture in the air, holding his saber and leaping into the air. It was like he had crossed a great distance. However, the distance between him and the old man did not close at all. The old man was clearly in front of Xiao Chen, but it felt like he was even further away than the horizon, as if there was no end. This place actually materialized a small world. Furthermore, it was a small world that could be controlled. When Xiao Chen saw the old man's expressionless face, he was extremely astonished. Could this old man be a sage? Go out and calm down. In the future, you have to learn to respect the old and cherish the young. The old man waved his long sleeves gently and an irresistible force pushed Xiao Chen back. Xiao Chen's speed was extremely fast, the sound of the wind whistled in his ears. Bang! It was as if Xiao Chen had traversed through countless plains. With a loud boom, he landed on the ground. When he raised his head to take a look, he discovered himself. When he looked up, he discovered that he was lying on the street. There were people coming and going around him, looking at Xiao Chen strangely. After being looked at like a fool, Xiao Chen quickly got up and checked his body. He discovered that he was not injured at all. It was clear that the old man had held back. Materializing a small world and grasping the laws of space, these were abilities that only sages could have. Was that old man really a sage? Xiao Chen felt that it was impossible. This was because the aura that this old man gave him was not much stronger than Ing Yu's. At best, he was only a martial monarch, he was definitely not a martial sage. Xiao Chen extended out his spiritual sense and closed his eyes. He extended his spiritual sense into the old man's shop. A strong aura appeared in his mind. After a while, Xiao Chen discovered the source of that aura. It was a rectangular wooden box in the shop. When Xiao Chen tried to extend his spiritual sense into the wooden box, he discovered a formless barrier blocking his spiritual sense. Xiao Chen did not give up and tried a few more times. However, he failed every time. Finally, he focused his spiritual sense on the old man's body. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows, he discovered an incomparably shocking phenomenon. Withdrawing his spiritual sense, Xiao Chen muttered to himself, "This person does not have a martial spirit in his body." However, the aura he gave off clearly indicated that he was once a martial king expert. If that was the case, there could only be one reason. This expert had been severely injured by someone. His martial spirit was destroyed, and he became a cripple. Even so, Xiao Chen was still fearful of the old man. If that wooden box did not contain a complete holy weapon, it would be a king-grade attack-type secret treasure. Within the shop, the old man was an undefeatable existence. Xiao Chen shook his head. Since the old man did not have any ill intentions, there was no need for him to continue pestering him. After turning around and leaving, Xiaoqin still could not calm down. There are so many shops outside of Saber City. Could there be such experts hidden in all of them? With this thought in mind, Xiaoqin unknowingly walked into another shop. The owner of the shop was a middle-aged man. Xiaoqian's eyes lit up like torches as he stared at this person. He wanted to see if there was anything different about him. "Little brother, are you looking to buy something?" the middle-aged man asked with a trembling voice after being stared at by Xiaoqin. Hearing this, Xiaoqin recovered his wits. He felt that it was a pity, this person was really just an ordinary shop owner. There was nothing special about him. However, how should he answer the shop owner's question? That was a problem. After all, he already knew that the spirit weapons here would not be sold to outsiders. Xiaoqin thought for a while and decided to ask about Ling Tianyue. After all, he had already committed a heinous crime by assassinating Ling Liusu. He asked in a probing manner, "I want to ask around. Did anything big happen in Saber City recently?" The middle-aged man looked at Xiaoqin meaningfully and said, "If you want to talk about big things, there are big things happening in Saber City every day. There is nothing strange about that. However, something startling did happen a few days ago." The shop owner stopped talking. Xiaoqin understood tacitly and handed over a banknote. The shop owner received it and casually glanced at it. He discovered it was a banknote for 10,000 silver taels. The shop owner could not help but reveal a joyful expression. He beamed with joy and said, "A few days ago, the first young master of Lingyun Mountain Range's Tianyue Peak, Ling Tianyue, returned from outside and barged into the Heavenly Saber Morning Soul Formation." Indeed, it was about Ling Tianyue. Xiaoqin could not help but ask out of curiosity, why did he go to the Heavenly Saber Morning Soul Formation? The shop owner chuckled and said, "Why? Of course, it was to draw the saber. There is a rumor in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion that has been passed down for thousands of years. As long as one barges into the Heavenly Saber Morning Soul Formation and draws the subdivine weapon, they can immediately become the pavilion master of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion." "Then, did he draw it?" Xiaoqin asked interestedly. He did not expect there to be such a thing in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. This was very surprising. If someone from the Misty Sword sect managed to draw this saber, would they become the pavilion master of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Just thinking about it was interesting. The middle-aged boss sighed and said, "That's a secondary heavenly weapon, second only to heavenly weapons in the world. It can split mountains and rocks, shake the sky, and even sages have to avoid it. How can it be pulled out so easily? Furthermore, the Heavenly Saber Morning Soul Formation has 81 small formations. They are all interconnected, forming a large formation. It has existed since the ancient era. If one wants to pass through it, not only does one need a cultivation realm, they also need an understanding of saber techniques." Chapter 140. How could he, a peak martial grand master, barge in? He was trapped in the 7th formation and was eventually rescued by his father. Xiaoqian's interest was completely piqued. He quickly asked, "Then what happened after that?" The boss was somewhat confused about what happened after that. He said, "I only heard about what happened after that. Ling Tianyue seemed to have done something wrong. His father wanted to lock him up. In the end, he crippled his own cultivation and took the initiative to lock himself up in Heavenly Saber Pavilion's saber prison." When he heard this news, Xiaoqin heaved a sigh of relief. Although he did not know why Ling Tianyue locked him up in saber prison, it was good enough that he did not have to meet him. Holding the lunar shadow saber, Xiaoqin headed straight for Saber City. After a while, he arrived at the city gates and started to pay the entrance tax. The method of paying the entrance tax here made Xiaoqin feel astonished. The amount of the tax was actually determined by the weight of the saber the cultivator was carrying. No matter how many sabers you had, no matter what grade they were, how heavy they were, you would have to pay the tax. The saber itself weighs 85 kilograms. The scabbard weighs 70 kilograms. In total, it weighs 155 kilograms. Little brother, you have to pay 1155 silver taels as entrance tax. The two cultivators guarding the gates removed Xiao Chen's lunar shadow saber from the scale. They smiled as they spoke to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen sweated profusely in his heart. This was extraordinarily expensive. When he saw a brother carrying 7 sabers on his back, he felt even more depressed. He had to pay 10,000 silver taels. However, Xiao Chen still had to pay up. He had no other choice. After he paid up, he left. After paying, the guards asked Xiao Chen a few questions and recorded his place of birth, name, and age. After that, they handed a form to Xiao Chen and said, "Go to the side and make an identity token. In the future, you will not have to pay the entrance tax when entering Saber City with this identity token." Xiao Chen smiled gently. "Fortunately, I don't have to pay every time. Otherwise, I would have to deduct all of my assets." The processing of the identity card was relatively simple. After handing in the form and waiting for half an hour, the other party delivered a wooden card. The front side of the card was engraved with Xiao Chen's information, and the back side was engraved with a long saber and a mountain peak. After tying the wooden token to his waist, Xiao Chen finally entered the famous Saber City. The streets of the city were densely packed with cultivators carrying sabers. An arena could be seen every few hundred meters, and every arena was crowded with people. It was very lively. The martial heaven continent's love for martial arts had reached its pinnacle. Aside from being filled with bladesmen and having many arenas, Saber City was not much different from other cities. Xiao Chen inquired about the location of the city lord's mansion and quickly walked towards it. The city lord of Saber City was appointed by the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. He managed the entire outer sect of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The position of the city lord in the sect was second only to those peak masters. He also had a seat in the elders' assembly. At the entrance of the city lord's mansion, Xiao Chen handed the recommendation letter that Feng Feishue gave him to the guard. The red recommendation letter had the Feng clan's seal and emblem on it, as well as Feng Feishue's signature. The guard's eyes were pretty good. He was able to tell the authenticity of the recommendation letter very quickly. He told Xiao Chen to wait for a while he went to report the matter. Not long after, that person quickly ran over. He smiled apologetically and said, "Brother, the city lord is currently meeting with an important guest. You might have to wait for a while. Come with me to the side hall to rest first." The attitude of the city lord's mansion was very humble. Xiao Chen did not feel that he was an important person. He smiled faintly and followed the person into the city lord's mansion with a relaxed expression. After passing through a few courtyards and gardens, Xiao Chen was brought to the side hall. The guard immediately took his leave, leaving Xiao Chen there alone. Xiao Chen waited for a long time. In the reception hall of the city lord's mansion, Saber City's city lord, Gu Yunbin, sat on a wooden chair. Separated by a tea table was an old man. He looked at Xiao Chen's recommendation letter with an unhappy expression. Behind the two of them stood a youth about 16 or 17 years old. He carried a saber on his back and had a gloomy expression on his face. Occasionally, there would be a trace of hostility in his eyes. The old man placed the recommendation letter on the table and faced Gu Yunbin. He said in a deep voice, "Old Gu, we already agreed on this a week ago. Why did you change your mind at the last minute?" Gu Yunbin smiled faintly, "Old Zhang, don't make things difficult for me. Why don't you take a look at who gave me the recommendation letter? There is Miss Feng's signature on it. I can't not give Miss Feng face. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion and the Feng clan have worked together for hundreds of years. They are the ones who provide the materials for the spirit weapons and battle armor in and out of the city. The most important thing is that they are the ones who handle the spirit stones produced by the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The Feng clan has the authority to recommend people. It was not me who said it, it was the previous pavilion master who said it. Furthermore, this old man also owes Miss Feng a favor. This time, I can return it to her. When old Zhang heard this, he took out a jade bottle with a flip of his palm. He gently opened the bottle cap and a dense medicinal fragrance instantly spread out. When one smelled it, they felt refreshed and refreshed. Gu Yunbin's expression changed slightly. He asked, Old Zhang, is this the immortal cloud life extending pill? Old Zhang revealed a proud expression and said indifferently, that's right, it is the rank 7 immortal cloud life extending pill. After consuming it, it can extend one's lifespan by 20 years. Originally, I intended to give it to old Gu after the matter was over. Gu Yunbin smiled bitterly and said, Old Zhang, why do you have to do this? With your grandson's talent, as long as he stays in the outer sect for half a year, he will definitely have the opportunity to enter the inner sect. Furthermore, this old man will definitely take care of him. There will be no lack of spirit stones, medicinal pills, and martial techniques. Old Zhang looked at the youth beside him and said, there is no need to say much about Ye's talent. However, half a year is too long. He has already wasted 16 years. I do not wish for him to waste any more time. Gu Yunbin got up and started pacing around the hall. He had a conflicted expression on his face. After a while, he finally made up his mind. He said, I will think of a way. First, I will set up a mission to test this person. If this person does not have any ability, then forget it. If he cannot pass, I will arrange for him to enter the outer sect first. The spot in Tianyue Peak will be reserved for your son. Wait here for a while. After Gu Yunbin spoke, he headed to the side hall. After Gu Yunbin left, old Zhang immediately got up and went to the door. He called an old man over and explained the situation to him. Finally, he instructed, I do not wish for anything unexpected to happen. Whether Zhang Yi can enter the inner sect of Heavenly Saber Pavilion will affect the position of our Zhang clan in Yunyang City for the next few hundred years. When that person comes out later, keep an eye on him. If he does not complete it, then it is fine. However, if he does, you should know what to do, right? This old man was a medial grade martial saint. After he heard it, he said indifferently, Clan head, please rest assured. There will not be any problems with such a small matter. In the side hall, just as Xiao Chen's patience ran out, there was the sound of footsteps. The door to the side hall opened and an old man over 70 years old walked in with great strides. As he walked, he gave off an imposing aura. Xiao Chen extended his spiritual sense and was actually unable to sense the strength of this person. It was like his spiritual sense had sunk into the vast ocean. It was unfathomable, he could not help but feel astonished. When Gu Yunbin saw Xiao Chen, he smiled gently and said, My apologies, my apologies. I have something to do and have made little brother wait. Please don't take offense. As he spoke, he sized up Xiao Chen. When his gaze landed on Xiao Chen's body, Xiao Chen felt like he had been completely seen through, he could no longer keep any secrets. However, Xiao Chen did not panic. He had just seen a fake sage. This situation was nothing compared to what he had seen earlier. Xiao Chen stood up and performed a cupped fist salute. He said respectfully, Greetings, senior. As a junior, there is no harm in waiting. Gu Yunbin nodded to himself. Although Xiao Chen was only a superior grade martial master, he was able to remain calm and courteous under Gu Yunbin's aura. This was quite rare. Gu Yunbin gestured for Xiao Chen to sit down. He smiled and said, This old man is Gu Yunbin. If you do not mind, you can call me Old Gu. I have not asked for little brother's name yet. Yi Chen, Yi as in leaves, Chen as in birth. Yi Chen was Xiao Chen's current alias. The name Xiao Chen was currently wanted by the Yan clan, even in Shihe province. It was not good to use it directly. Gu Yunbin said politely again, Yi Chen, I have seen Miss Feng's recommendation letter. Her words speak highly of you. I will definitely give Miss Feng face. However, the inner sect of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is the backbone of the entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion. It cannot be mixed in. I will have to test your strength in the end. Xiaoqin thought very quickly. He muttered, Old Gu, if you have something to say, just say it. Yi Chen is not a pretentious person. When Gu Yunbin heard this, he was stunned. He smiled and said, It has been a long time since a junior dared to speak to me like this. In that case, I will say it directly. I have a mission for you. If you can pass it, I will give you a chance to enter the inner sect. If you cannot, then go to the outer sect and temper yourself first. How about that? Xiaoqin did not think too much about it. He had missed the opportunity to enter the inner sect. Originally, he had intended to enter the Heavenly Saber Pavilion through the outer sect. It was only because of Feng Feishue's recommendation letter that he had this opportunity. Even if he could not pass it, there was no loss. Without any hesitation, Xiaoqin agreed to Gu Yunbin's request under his somewhat surprised gaze. He did not try to bargain at all. Gu Yunbin smiled and said, I am gratified that you have such a mentality. However, I hope you do not get careless. The difficulty of the mission I am giving you is the same as the outer sect's end-of-year exam. The back door I opened for you will only save you half a year. Kill a rank 5 spirit beast at will in the Evil Wind Valley outside the city. In order to prevent cheating, bring the spirit beast's corpse back. I will check it personally. After Gu Yunbin spoke, he handed Xiaoqin some information about the Evil Wind Valley. Xiaoqin received it and did not look at it on the spot. He immediately took his leave and left the city lord's residence. After Xiaoqin found an independent courtyard in Saber City, he started to look through the information that Gu Yunbin handed him carefully. Evil Wind Valley was located to the west of Saber City. The cold qi there was extremely heavy. Most of the spirit beasts there were ice-attributed. It was a place where the outer sect disciples would temper themselves. A rank 5 spirit beast was equivalent to a human martial saint. Aside from their intelligence and agility being slightly lower than humans, their pure strength could only be higher. After Xiaoqin took a look, he tossed the information onto the table. There was very little information, it was not very helpful. Chapter 141. With Xiaoqian's strength as a superior grade martial master, it would be extremely difficult for him to kill a rank 5 spirit beast. His chances of success were close to zero. Is the threshold of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's inner sect really that high? Xiaoqin frowned slightly, he had some doubts in his heart. If he were to carry out such a mission, it would not be an exaggeration to describe it as having a 90% chance of survival. Xiaoqin sighed and held the lunar shadow saber in his hand. With a huang-dang sound, he slowly drew the saber. A cold light flashed on the pitch-black blade. The sharp blade could slice through hair. Xiaoqin gently stroked the blade of the saber. A pretty figure appeared in his mind. He thought of everything that person had done for him. His gaze slowly turned resolute as he muttered, no matter the reason you sealed yourself, I will do my best to wake you up. I will not make you cry again in this lifetime. Even if I have to give up my life, I will not hesitate. This is a promise. From the moment he held the lunar shadow saber in his hand and obtained the inheritance of the Thunder King, he had to keep this promise for life. Ka-xie. Xiaoqin sheathed the lunar shadow saber once again. He took out the dragon seizing hands manual that he obtained from Yan Qianyun's body from the universe ring and started reading it. This was an earth-ranked martial technique that required an inherited martial spirit to learn. It was similar to Xiaoqian's dragon subduing slash. However, Xiaoqin had the battle sage origins changing character formula. An inherited martial spirit would not be a hindrance to him. In a situation where a heaven-ranked martial technique did not appear, an earth-ranked martial technique was definitely the strongest martial technique in the world. Furthermore, an inherited earth-ranked martial technique from a noble clan with an innate bloodline would be even stronger. This dragon-seizing hands was much stronger than the ancient martial technique that Xiao Qian obtained in the ancient remnant. Xiao Qian looked at it carefully for half a night and comprehended something in his heart. Pu ci. Xiao Qian suddenly made his move. He circulated the changing character formula and the dragon-seizing hands at the same time. Xiao Qian shouted and smashed his right hand forward. A giant black hand appeared, and with a bang, the stone table in the courtyard was smashed into pieces. The stone fragments danced wildly in the air and shot out. Xiao Qian withdrew his hand and revealed a faint smile on his face. Using the battle sage origin to evolve it was indeed more efficient and easier to succeed. In the courtyard, Xiao Qian started to experiment continuously. Aside from the dragon-seizing hand, there was also Ji Changkong's astral sword technique, Hua Yunfei's bloody massacre sword technique, and Duanmuking's inherited martial technique. They were all modified using the changing character formula. In the end, he discovered that although he could execute these martial techniques after trying them a few times, they exhausted too much essence. He could not easily execute them. Only this dragon-seizing hand, with a martial technique in hand and a clear understanding of its circulation path, would require less essence to execute. Such a martial technique had value in actual combat. After his essence was exhausted, Xiao Qian did not enter a state of cultivation to absorb spiritual energy. Instead, he took out an inferior-grade spirit stone and absorbed it completely. His essence instantly returned to its peak state. After Xiao Qian completely absorbed the energy in the spirit stone, the pool of clear water in his dantian grew noticeably larger. This was a pleasant surprise. Xiao Qian smiled faintly and said, "No wonder everyone likes spirit stones. This thing is very useful to cultivators. Furthermore, it does not have any side effects. In the future, I have to absorb one every day. I can't just leave it lying around." Only a person like Xiao Qian, who wanted to gain something without risking anything, would say such words without feeling any heartache. Even the disciples of noble clans would not dare to be so extravagant. After Xiao Qian recovered his spiritual energy, he continued practicing the dragon-seizing hand. His spiritual energy was completely exhausted. Xiao Qian directly used the spirit stone to recover his essence, not wasting any time at all. After a while, when Xiao Qian had used the dragon-seizing hand a few hundred times, he discovered some small tricks that he did not know about in other martial techniques. When the huge hand attacked the enemy, he could make the huge hand move accordingly. This way, its might would be even stronger. After discovering this trick, Xiao Qian was incomparably excited. He practiced from sunrise until the sky turned dark. Xiao Qian could use the dragon-seizing hand skillfully. He made a clenched fist motion, retracting and releasing it effortlessly. Aside from the changing character formula, the main reason why Xiao Qian was able to reach such a level in one day was because of the pile of spirit stones on the ground that no longer had any luster. The spirit stones that Yan Qianyun originally needed to use for half a year were used up by Xiao Qian in one day. It was unknown what expression Yan Qianyun would have if he knew about this. As the sun rose in the east, Xiao Qian woke up from his deep sleep. After washing up, Xiao Qian took out the horn of the infant golden lion that he had obtained in Savage Forest and started carving it. Xiao Qian did not dare to be careless when challenging a martial saint spirit beast. After thinking for a while, Xiao Qian decided to carve the golden lion king sculpture. Without Yu Ying's dragon qi, the might of Princess Yingyu's sculpture would be much lower. On the other hand, if Xiao Qian used the golden lion horn to carve the golden lion king, it would be much easier to control. This time, he was not as rushed as the previous time. He could only carve as he walked. Xiao Qian was very meticulous in his carving. The fine hairs on the surface of the sculpture could be seen clearly. After a while, a lifelike golden lion king sculpture was completed. Xiao Qian smiled faintly and placed it in his universe ring. Then, he took out an ink bottle and poured the blood of the golden holy beast into it. Then, he gently sliced his palm, allowing the essence blood in his body to merge with it. Xiaochen wanted to carve a new talisman. Under the situation where his cultivation realm had not increased, he could only increase the quality of the materials in order to increase the might of the talisman. The Golden Lion King contained the bloodline of an ancient golden holy beast. It was much stronger than the blood of a regular spirit beast. If he used it to carve a new talisman, its might would definitely increase by half. After the essence blood and the golden holy beast's blood were completely merged together, Xiaochen took out a brush and paper. He focused all his attention and started to carve, stroke by stroke. A faint golden light spread out from the tip of the brush. Xiaochen drew very slowly, but he did not pause at all. As he moved up and down, it was very natural. The connection was perfect. In the end, he completed it in one breath. He successfully inscribed a rank 3 lightning-attributed talisman. After wiping the sweat off his forehead, Xiaochen took a deep breath. Carving talismans was the most tiring thing. When one was highly focused, one could not afford to be careless. If one was not steady, the talisman would immediately go to waste. Furthermore, this would exhaust a lot of essence. Xiaochen rested for a while before continuing to carve. He continued to carve more than 20 talismans in a row. His luck was not good for the last few, most of them failed. His success rate was only 50%. After the essence in his body was completely exhausted, Xiaochen took out an inferior grade spirit stone. After a while, essence immediately filled his entire body. The clear spring in his dantian swelled up again. He was now a peak superior grade martial master. As long as Xiaochen was willing, he could become a martial grand master at any time. This was the wondrous use of spirit stones. After everything was prepared, Xiaochen quickly walked out of the city. He removed the wooden token from his waist and showed it to the guards at the city gates. There were no obstructions as he left the city. Evil Wind Valley was a very suitable place for outer disciples to train. There were many outer disciples forming groups at the western city gates. A few of them even invited Xiaochen to go with them. Xiaochen smiled faintly and rejected them. His mission could only be completed by himself. If there were other injuries on the spirit beast's corpse, he would fail the mission. There were many people going to Evil Wind Valley. Xiaochen casually chose a group and followed behind. He did not have to worry about losing his way. Everyone moved very quickly. They arrived outside of Evil Wind Valley in an hour. What made Xiaochen somewhat surprised was that the outside of Evil Wind Valley was different from what he had imagined. The outside was like a marketplace. There were stalls set up everywhere. The stalls were very simple. There was a layer of ragged cloth on the ground. All sorts of herbs, spirit beast spirit cores, and flesh were displayed on the cloth. These people were all wearing the uniform of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's outer disciples. Occasionally, there would be peddlers coming over to haggle. The scene was very bustling and noisy. Selling the most complete map of Evil Wind Valley. The locations of all sorts of spirit beasts and herbs are marked. The lowest price here, definitely the lowest price here. A loud shout attracted Xiaochen's attention. A map of Evil Wind Valley. Coincidentally, this was something he urgently needed. Xiaochen walked over unhurriedly. He did not reveal any signs of impatience. This was a small trick when buying things. One must not let the other party see through one's true intentions. The stall owner was a young man wearing the uniform of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's outer disciples. When he saw Xiaochen, he quickly greeted him warmly. Xiaochen took the map from him and looked at it carefully. After a while, he asked, "Why is there no mark on this map of the location of a rank 5 spirit beast?" The young stall owner smiled and said, "You should be new here. There are no fixed locations for rank 5 spirit beasts in Evil Wind Valley. Furthermore, no outer disciple would dare to provoke a rank 5 spirit beast. Isn't that just seeking death? The outer disciples would not provoke a rank 5 spirit beast." Why was it different from what Guyunbin said? Xiaochen put down the map and asked, didn't you say that the end-of-year exam for outer disciples is to kill a rank 5 spirit beast? The stall owner revealed an astonished expression. How can that be? The end-of-year exam is normally based on the number of rank 4 spirit beasts you kill. Once you reach a certain standard, you will pass. This number changes every year, depending on the spirit beast. However, no matter how much it changes, I have never heard of any end-of-year exam requiring you to kill a rank 5 spirit beast. Isn't that just sending yourself to death? Even if it is an inner disciple, if they meet a rank 5 spirit beast, the sect instructs them to stay as far away as possible. Old bastard, you actually dared to lie to me, Xiao Chen cursed in his heart. He had not expected that this Gu Yunbin, who looked like a senior expert, would actually come up with such a vicious plan, trying to kill him. Brother, I think you might have been tricked by someone. The strength of a rank 5 spirit beast is comparable to a martial saint. How could we be a match for it? I advise you not to act rashly, that person said out of goodwill. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He smiled faintly and said, I was just speaking casually. Thank you for the reminder, brother. I am called Yu Chen. May I know your name? Lu Chen, an outer disciple of Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Xiao Chen looked around at the other stall owners who were also outer disciples. He asked, Brother Lu Chen, why are there so many people setting up stalls outside of Evil Wind Valley? Why are they doing business instead of cultivating? Chapter 142. Lu Chen smiled bitterly and said, the treatment an outer disciple receives is only 1 spirit stone and 1,000 silver taels. It is not enough for cultivation. Furthermore, the competition is too intense. Everyone wants to enter the inner sect. Without enough money, it is impossible to maintain the status quo. Xiao Chen was deep in thought. This was probably the tragedy of a loose cultivator. If he had not been fortunate enough to rob a few noble clan disciples of their belongings, he might have to set up a stall like these people. Suddenly, Lu Chen said, Brother Yi, actually, if you really want to find a rank 5 spirit beast, there are a few places on this map that you can definitely find. What places? Xiao Chen's interest was piqued. He still had to kill this rank 5 spirit beast. After all, he had made so many preparations. He could not return empty-handed. Lu Chen pointed to a spot on the map that was marked with a rank 5 herb. This is where the rank 5 herb, Yubing grass, is located. If you continue forward, you will find the rank 6 herb, ice crystal flower. There will definitely be rank 5 spirit beasts guarding this rank 6 herb. There are also here and here. When Xiao Chen heard this, he could not help but smile. The highest ranked herb on this map was only rank 5. It looked like this Lu Chen was hiding something. Excuse me for being nosy. I wonder why Brother Xiao Chen wants to know about rank 5 spirit beasts. Lu Chen could clearly feel that Xiao Chen was only a superior grade martial master. If he met a rank 5 spirit beast, he would not have any chance of surviving. Xiao Chen smiled faintly, nothing much, I was just asking casually. How much is the map? I'll buy it. Seeing that Xiao Chen was unwilling to speak, Lu Chen tactfully did not continue asking, the map is very cheap, 200 silver taels, 200 silver taels for a map, and you call it not expensive? You must be treating me like a fool. With such a small amount of money, Xiao Chen could not be bothered to bargain. After he ransacked the Jiang clan's treasury, aside from the 20 million gold taels he spent on the Flying Snow Manor, there was still another 10 million gold taels and all sorts of spirit weapons and medicinal pills left in Xiao Chen's hands. Lu Chen took out a banknote worth 1,000 silver taels from the universe ring and took the map. When he saw the spatial ring on Xiao Chen's hand, an undetectable look of greed flashed in his eyes. However, it quickly disappeared. The smile on his face did not change as he returned the remaining money to Xiao Chen. He said enthusiastically, I wish Brother Xiao Chen a good harvest. Let's continue working together in the future. When Xiao Chen was far away, he looked at Xiao Chen's back and did not hide the greed in his eyes. He quickly put away his stall and smiled at the people who came to take a look. Everyone, I'm sorry. I will not be doing business today. Under the strange gazes of the crowd, Lu Chen quickly left. He ran to the outskirts of Evil Wind Valley, to a desolate forest. In the forest, there were a few youths wearing the uniform of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's outer sect disciples. There was a corpse lying in front of them. Boss, this fellow is a pauper. He only has 2,000 silver taels on him. Furthermore, it is broken silver. The medicinal pills he has are all trash rank 2 medicinal pills, someone cursed. The person leading the group was called Zhang Tuesday. He was an inferior grade martial Grand Master. He had an unfriendly expression on his face as he said in a sullen voice, there are still a few more months to the end of the year. If I do not advance to medial grade martial Grand Master, I will not be able to enter the inner sect. These people were all Heavenly Saber Pavilion's outer sect disciples. They were loose cultivators. For the sake of cultivation resources, they would frequently ambush lone cultivators in Evil Wind Valley. Sometimes, they would even attack their own sect members. When Zhang Tu saw Lu Chen running over in a panic, he said unhappily, "What are you doing? Running for your life? Why are you running so fast?" Lu Chen panicked and quickly told Zhang Tu what he had seen earlier. Zhang Tu revealed an expression of deep thought. He said, "Are you sure he is alone? There is a spatial ring on his hand. He should be the young master of a large clan. How can he be alone?" Lu Chen nodded and said, "I am absolutely sure. Furthermore, this person seems to be new. He does not know anything and asked a lot of strange questions. His cultivation seems to be only peak superior grade martial Grand Master. To be able to spend 1,000 silver taels on a whim, this person is definitely not poor. Furthermore, he does not care about the price of his items. He is definitely a spendthrift from a young age. Boss, let's do it," someone at the side said with a gleam in his eyes when he heard Lu Chen's words. Indeed, he is a superior grade martial Grand Master. Boss, you can deal with him alone. Furthermore, the few of us are at least medial grade martial Grand Masters. There will not be any problems. Indeed, it is not like boss has not done it before. This person might even have spirit stones on him. Boss, you still have to continue. Zhang Tu revealed an uncertain expression. His rationality told him that something was wrong. A superior grade martial Grand Master going to inquire about a rank 5 spirit beast was definitely not simple. However, the greed in his heart was like a flood, slowly breaking his rationality. When he heard the words spirit stones, the greed in Zhang Tu's heart overcame his rationality. He consoled himself by saying, no matter what, he is only a superior grade martial Grand Master. After he made up his mind, he said, Lu Chen, you should have left some medicinal powder on that person, right? Lu Chen chuckled, that is for sure. I have already smeared some medicinal powder on the map. I can find that person at any time. When one was outside, the human heart was unfathomable. One should not expose one's wealth. This was a very simple principle, especially in the Tianwu continent. The battles between humans were much more bloody than those between animals. One had to pay even more attention to it. It was not that Xiao Chen did not understand this principle. Unfortunately, he did not have much experience and accidentally exposed himself. He thought that it was not important. However, in this evil wind valley, the human heart was sinister. How could he judge others by his own standards? Evil Wind Valley was surrounded by tall mountains. It was not appropriate to call it a valley, as it was simply too big. Not only was there a forest in the valley, there was also a river flowing around it. There were strange rocks everywhere, it was vast and boundless. There were many cultivators coming and going in the valley. After they crossed a river, Xiaochen entered the dense forest in front. The forest was very big, the crowd immediately dispersed. As Xiao Qin continued to walk forward, he saw very few people. Pooh! Bai jumped out of the spirit blood jade with a joyful cry. Aside from being in the house, Xiao Qin had not let it out for the past few days. The main reason was that it was too eye-catching. Its snow-white fur was not tainted by any impurities. It also had a pair of watery eyes filled with spirituality. With one look, one could tell that it was not an ordinary item. Within the forest, Bai was very excited. The moment it landed on the ground, it immediately ran far away. Xiao Qin smiled faintly and ignored it. With its speed, no spirit beast would be able to catch it. However, Xiao Qin still warned it not to run too far. It was not because it was afraid of those ferocious spirit beasts, but because he was afraid of being seen by other cultivators and attracting unnecessary trouble. Xiao Qin took out the map and looked at it carefully. In the end, he decided to go to the ice crystal flowers to take a look, one by one. Regardless of what Gu Binyun was thinking, he had already made so many preparations. He had to give it a try. If Gu Binyun were to play tricks on him, he would fall out with him. Within Evil Wind Valley, Zhang Tu's group was following the route that Xiao Qin took. They followed behind him unhurriedly. Occasionally, Lu Chen would sniff the air. Lu Chen's martial spirit was an ordinary dog. It was not very useful in battle, but it was very strong when it came to tracking people. This was not the first time they had used such a method. They all had relaxed expressions and did not seem to mind. "Boss, he might be going to the ice crystal flowers," Lu Chen said after sniffing the air for a while. Zhang Tu frowned slightly, his expression was somewhat gloomy. He muttered, "Could it be that he is really going to find a rank 5 spirit beast? He is just a superior grade martial master, where does he get his confidence from?" Lu Chen, who was at the side, heard Zhang Tu's muttering. He said, he might have some kind of secret treasure. This time, he might have really caught a big fish. When Zhang Tu heard this, he went into deep thought. After a while, he said solemnly, "This should be the only reason. This brat is definitely not an ordinary superior grade martial master. We cannot follow our usual plan. Fourth brother, how many more times can you use that thing of yours?" Zhang Tu turned around and said to a skinny cultivator. That skinny cultivator took out a very ordinary piece of metal. He said in astonishment, 2 or 3 times should not be a problem. However, is there a need to use this thing to deal with a superior grade martial master? Zhang Tu took the piece of metal and a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. He said, "This brat is definitely not an ordinary person. You will not go wrong listening to me. I will personally make a move later. We will take a shortcut and set up an ambush. We will try to deal with him in one move and not cause any other problems." Although this map was very expensive, the locations of the spirit beasts marked on it were very accurate. Xiao Qin followed the directions on the map and successfully avoided some of the spirit beasts that lived in groups. Along the way, he only met a few wandering spirit beasts and dealt with them easily. Xiao Qin dealt with another rank 3 spirit beast blocking his way. Following the principle that even the smallest mosquito was meat, Xiao Qin extracted its spirit core and placed it in his universe ring. After everything that had happened the previous night, Xiao Qin took out the map again and looked at it carefully. At this moment, Bai came out of nowhere and leaped gently onto Xiao Chen's shoulder. When it saw the map in Xiao Chen's hand, it went over to take a look out of curiosity. Pu ci. Before it got close, it sneezed. A layer of powder started to spread out from the map. Xiao Qin frowned and held his breath. He quickly threw the map in his hand to the ground. Xiao Qin took out a piece of white paper from the universe ring and collected all the dust particles one by one. The green spirit core in Xiao Chen's mind extended out along with his spiritual sense. It carefully analyzed the composition of the powder on the white paper. This green dot was a spirit core that only alchemists had. Xiao Qin had not used it for a long time already. At this moment, it came in handy. Withdrawing his spiritual sense, Xiao Chen casually tossed the white paper away. He heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. It was just some powder with a special smell. Fortunately, it was not poison. If it was, he would have fallen for it already. The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth curled up into a cold smile. He picked up the map again and said indifferently, "The human heart is something that no one can understand." He extended his spiritual sense into the surroundings. As he walked, everything within 800 meters appeared in his mind. Everything appeared in his mind. A flower, a tree, and some martial artists who were fighting with the spirit beasts. None of them could escape. After a while, Xiao Chen sensed something on the path to the ice crystal flower's birth. 6 figures were hiding in the surrounding trees with a clear purpose. Lu Chen's figure was among them. Chapter 143. When the 6 people on the tree saw Xiao Chen approaching, they all became cautious. They held their breaths and became extremely quiet. Zhang Tu held the mysterious piece of metal in his hand. His palm was actually sweating. He could not help but curse in his heart, "It is just a superior grade martial master, there is no need to be so nervous." His expression slowly eased up. As he watched Xiao Chen get closer, he could not help but slowly count down in his heart. 10, 9, 8, 7, go. When he counted to 10, he tossed the piece of metal in his hand forward. The piece of metal immediately expanded with the wind. After a while, it was the size of a small mountain. It pressed down on Xiao Chen's head. There was a loud rumbling sound as the piece of metal landed on the ground. The ground started to tremble, and some of the surrounding trees were toppled. "Not good," Zhang Tu exclaimed. In the instant the piece of metal was about to be thrown, there was a flash of lightning. Xiao Chen's figure suddenly disappeared. "Ah!" There was a loud miserable cry. In the quiet forest, it was very horrifying. Lu Chen's body was chopped in half, and he fell from the tree. Xiao Chen stood on the tree branch and looked at the piece of metal on the ground. He was startled. Fortunately, he had sensed Lu Chen's killing intent in advance. Otherwise, if he was caught off guard, Xiao Chen would definitely fall for it. With such a big thing pressing down, even a martial saint would not feel good. Zhang Tu quickly landed on the ground and put away the piece of metal. He wanted to take it out again. However, Xiao Chen did not want to give him the chance. He leaped into the air and flew down from the tree. He turned into a blue dragon and roared angrily. A cold light flickered and a saber light appeared. Xiao Chen's figure landed in front of Zhang Tu's day. He did not hesitate to quickly draw his saber, drawing the saber. The saber created a strong wind. However, the saber light was faster than the wind. This startled Zhang Tuesday. He quickly gave up on taking out the piece of metal and quickly retreated. When Xiao Chen saw him retreat, the corner of his mouth curled up into a faint smile. There was a clap of thunder behind him, and the electric light passed through the ground to Xiao Chen's feet. Finally, it gathered on the lunar shadow saber. In an instant, the purple light shone brightly. Xiao Chen did not even have to release the power of the demonic core in the lunar shadow saber. The electric light was already so resplendent that it was dazzling. He took a step forward, and his saber drew a long purple arc in the air. On the arc, countless electric arcs flickered, bewitching and beautiful. Zhang Tu knew that he could not avoid this arc, so he used up all his essence qi, forming an essence qi barrier around his body. He wanted to take it head-on. However, after Xiao Chen refined the Thunder Crash Saber technique, its might was much stronger than before. The essence barrier that he hastily gathered could not block it at all. Puchi. The essence barrier on Zhang Tu's chest was sliced open, and the purple light tore through his clothes. It left a long gash on the yellow-ranked battle armor he was wearing. After that, it left a scarlet wound on his chest, and blood spurted out. The horrifying electric light quickly entered his body. It swept through the meridians in his body like breaking dead leaves. The essence in his body instantly turned chaotic, and he temporarily lost control of his body. Rushing heaven chop! Xiaoqin shouted, and his body soared into the sky. The saber pierced forward without any fancy moves, and in the next moment, it was going to pierce through Zhang Tu's chest. No! Zhang Tu revealed an expression of extreme horror in his eyes as he said in despair. In that instant, he thought of many things. He thought of the excitement he felt when he first came to Saber City. He thought of the oath he made when he entered the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's outer sect. One day, he would become the strongest bladesman in the world. However, all this was soon buried in the merciless reality. Those people with similar talent to him relied on the resources of their clans, and their cultivations quickly surpassed his. 1 year passed, 2 years passed. His hopes of entering the inner sect became slimmer and slimmer. He did not know when it started, but he forgot his oath and fell to his current state. Suddenly, Zhang Tu was dispirited to discover that he was about to die. In this final battle, he did not even draw his saber. He only wanted to rely on unorthodox methods to deal with a superior-grade martial master. He tried hard to control his right hand, wanting to pull out the long saber at his waist, but just as he touched the hilt. However, just as he touched the saber hilt, the lunar shadow saber pierced through the wound on Xiaoqian's chest. With a bang, his body shattered into countless pieces. The saber fell to the ground with a huang-dang sound. Even when he died, he did not draw it. Xiaoqian turned around and quickly grabbed the piece of metal in the air. When the remaining 4 people saw that Xiaoqian dealt with them in an instant, the strongest among them, Zhang Tu, turned pale with fright. They turned around and ran. Dragon seizing hand. Xiaoqian shouted loudly and a huge black palm descended from the sky. With a loud bang, it smashed the 4 of them to the ground. Xiaoqian used the dragon seizing hand again. He did not move from his original position and controlled the huge black palm to form a fist with his right hand. Boom! A cultivator who was struggling to stand up was hammered down by the huge black fist. He cried out miserably and his body was smashed into a pile of meat paste. Boom! 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 There were another 3 loud sounds. The black fist carried an overwhelming force as it smashed down continuously. The huge force landed on the ground. The ground trembled continuously. The trees on both sides were swaying left and right. They swayed non-stop. After a long time, they slowly stopped swaying. Xiaoqian withdrew his hand and looked coldly at the 5 corpses on the ground. He searched the corpses clean and quickly left the place. The commotion earlier was too big. Many cultivators were attracted by it and were rushing over. Xiaoqian did not dare to stay any longer. Not long after Xiaoqian left, a Heavenly Saber Pavilion outer disciple rushed over. He carried a thick saber on his back and there was a long scar on the right side of his face. This made his originally young face look very sinister. When he saw the corpses on the ground, he did not seem too shocked. Zhang Tu's corpse had already been smashed into many pieces. It looked very disgusting. Blood dyed the ground red, it was impossible to make out this person's identity. He searched the ground for a while and found a black metal medallion. Zhang Tu's name was written on the front and the words Heavenly Saber Pavilion was carved on the back. Zhang Tu was actually killed by someone in Evil Wind Valley. The scarred man read it out slowly. His eyes revealed an expression of extreme shock. There was an undetectable sorrow in the depths of his eyes. Pooh! 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 A series of footsteps could be heard. Many Heavenly Saber Pavilion outer disciples heard the commotion and rushed over. When they saw the corpses on the ground, they were greatly shocked. It's Lu Chen's group. This is their metal medallion. Very soon, someone found their identity medallion. They were all outer disciples. Naturally, they recognized Lu Chen's group. When they saw their miserable deaths, they felt fear in their hearts. An outer disciple wearing embroidered robes walked over to the scarred man. When he saw the name carved on the metal medallion, he was stunned. Then, he smiled and said, "I did not expect Zhang Tu to be dead as well. I thought he had escaped. Lu Mingfei and the others, were you the one who killed them? Zhang Tu was your biggest competitor when you entered the inner sect." He looked at the scarred man with a smile that was not a smile and asked in a mocking tone. He did not care about this person at all. Zhang Tu is actually dead. Out of the 10 spots to enter the inner sect, he was one of the hot favorites. It is such a pity that he died like that. I wonder who did it. They actually killed 6 outer disciples right under the nose of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. They are too courageous, they do not care about the Heavenly Saber Pavilion at all. It is clear that the person who did it has a higher cultivation than Zhang Tuesday. This fellow must have met a tough opponent. He has been beating up a bird for a long time and finally got pecked by a bird. When the group of outer disciples heard the man in embroidered robes say Zhang Tu's name, they all burst into an uproar. Some shook their heads and sighed, some rejoiced in their hearts. With this, they would have one less opponent for the year-end exam. The treatment of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's inner disciples was much better than that of the outer disciples. Just the spirit stones they received every month was 10 times that of the outer disciples. Furthermore, they had the opportunity to receive personal guidance from a martial king. They could also choose all sorts of high-ranked martial techniques and superior-grade medicinal pills. The mountain range was filled with spiritual energy. It was not something that Saber City could compare to. However, there were only 10 outer disciples who could enter the Heavenly Saber Pavilion every year. This resulted in intense competition in the outer sect. When the many cultivators present heard the news of Zhang Tu's death, they all rejoiced in their hearts. Lu Mingfei stood up and grasped the metal medallion tightly. He looked at the youth in embroidered robes beside him and said coldly, "Yan Tianzheng, you better pray that you are not in the same group as me during the year-end exam. Otherwise, I will definitely kill you." After Lu Mingfei said this, he left with large strides. Yan Tianzheng looked at Lu Mingfei's back and mocked, "Just a commoner's disciple and he wants to fight with me for the right to enter the inner sect? Wishful thinking." On the other side, in a forest, Xiaoqin casually laid down a small, one-time use illusion formation. Then, he carefully studied the metal medallion in his hand. This metal medallion could actually grow with the wind, it instantly became the size of a small mountain. It was very similar to the growing soil that Yu the Great used to control the flood in ancient times. Could this be a secret treasure? Xiaoqin asked suspiciously as he looked at the metal medallion in his hand. However, when he extended his spiritual sense, Xiaoqin could not feel any formation patterns or Taoist rhymes on it. There was no trace of a secret treasure at all. Just as Xiaoqin was feeling puzzled, an idea flashed in his mind. He remembered that there was an extremely precious refining material in the compendium of cultivation. Astral iron. This was a natural treasure. According to legend, it was made from polished meteorites that came from the outer realm. After these meteorites were polished, they would have all sorts of strange effects. Some could summon boundless flames, ice, and hurricanes. Some could even create a small world. Some could even summon creatures from the outer realm. It was very strange. These star irons had been wandering in the universe for hundreds of thousands of years. During such a long period of time, they had been exposed to the impurities in the universe and all kinds of strange rays. Therefore, it was not strange for them to have some strange special effects. This was definitely a piece of astral iron, Xiaoqin said joyfully. This was because there was a clear record of it in the compendium of cultivation. Although it was only briefly mentioned, it did indeed exist. Although the special effects of the astral iron were different, they all had a common use. That was to repair all sorts of divine weapons and secret treasures. Even the strongest divine weapons and emperor-grade secret treasures could be completely repaired. Chapter 144. Xiaoqian took out the exquisite copper bell from the universe ring. He looked at the severely damaged patterns on it and smiled faintly. These should be able to be repaired. As for the chaotic patterns inside, I can slowly sort them out in the future. He placed the copper bell beside his hand and his spiritual sense wrapped around the astral iron. The boundless purple flame in his right eye started to spin quickly. So, the purple flame leaped out from his right eye and burned the astral iron. The astral iron was extremely hard. Regular flames would not be able to melt it. Xiaoqian's purple thunder true fire, which had formed its origin, needed to be extremely hot before it could barely melt it. Time slowly went by. 4 hours had passed unknowingly. The astral iron in the purple flame did not show any signs of melting. Sweat covered Xiaoqian's forehead, it dripped down continuously. The horrifying temperature of the flame made his face turn red. Bang! Xiaoqian tossed out another dull spirit stone. This was already the 3rd inferior grade spirit stone that he had tossed out. The purple thunder true fire burned for a long time, exhausting a lot of essence. Actually, with Xiaoqian's current cultivation realm, he was too anxious to melt the astral iron. The ancient immortal cultivators on Earth only had the ability to melt the astral iron after they reached the Yuanying realm. After all, it was an item from the outside world. It was not an ordinary natural treasure, it was not that easy to refine. Xiaoqian gently wiped the sweat off his forehead. He was not too anxious in his heart. With his flushed face, he looked at the astral iron in the purple flame with a resolute gaze as it continued to burn. When Xiaoqian used up the 10th inferior grade spirit stone, the astral iron finally changed. A drop of scarlet liquid slowly dripped down into the jade bottle that Xiaoqian had prepared. Just at this moment, something strange happened. A faintly discernible evil spirit rushed out from the astral iron. It let out a horrifying wail and charged at Xiaoqian. This was a mysterious ominous spirit in the universe. Almost every piece of astral iron had one. The ominous spirit did not have a physical body. It would only devour the souls of humans. No martial technique would have any effect on it. No one knew what was going on with the formation of the evil spirit. It was just like the strange special effects of the star iron. No one could understand it with common sense. Xiaoqian understood and did not panic too much. He had already expected the ferocious spirit to appear. Just as the ferocious spirit was about to charge into Xiaoqian's mind, his eyes suddenly shot out 2 rays of violet light that pierced through the ferocious spirit. A black mist spread out, and the ferocious spirit continuously howled before turning into nothingness. This purple light was something that Xiaoqian would shoot out every time he broke through a major realm. He had no idea what it was for. However, Xiaoqian had a feeling that this purple light could destroy the ominous spirit that specialized in devouring souls. This was because the same scene seemed to have appeared in his life before. When Xiaoqian was planning to melt the astral iron, he had already made up his mind. He would make use of this opportunity to advance to Martial Grand Master and use the violet light to kill the ominous spirit. Although this was not the best time to advance, he had no other choice in order to eliminate this ominous spirit. The instant the ominous spirit disappeared, the astral iron had completely melted. Xiaoqian got up and stretched himself. He was not in a rush to check on the situation after his advancement. He picked up the porcelain bottle on the ground. After the astral iron, which was the size of a small mountain, was calcined, there were only 10 odd drops of scarlet liquid left behind. Ta. Xiaoqian slowly poured the liquid onto the copper bell. When the scarlet liquid landed on the copper bell, it instantly seeped in. It looked very strange. When the 10 odd drops of scarlet liquid entered the copper bell, it released a scarlet glow. With a schwa sound, it immediately flew into the air. Lines appeared on the surface of the copper bell. It was like an invisible hand was carving. The cracks and holes on the copper bell were slowly mended. A faint righteous qi came from the copper bell. When standing beside it, it made one feel very calm. Shao Chen revealed an expression of joy. He leaned against the copper bell in the air and said, "It is indeed a secret treasure used by the ancient sages. I did not waste 10-odd inferior-grade spirit stones in vain." Dang! The last line of lines on the copper bell was completed. A complete ancient bell appeared before Shao Chen's eyes. With a schwa sound, the copper bell became as tall as a person. A drawn-out bell chime resounded. This sound was very calm. Shao Chen stood below the copper bell. He felt that his inferior-grade martial Grand Master cultivation had stabilized significantly under the influence of this melodious bell chime. Shao Chen looked up. The interior of the copper bell was pitch black, it was boundlessly deep. He could not help but feel excited. There seemed to be a small world inside. A secret treasure that can automatically materialize a small world. Could it be an incomplete king-grade secret treasure? Shao Chen frowned slightly as he looked at the deep space. He felt suspicious. A black banner flew out from Shao Chen's eyes. The banner carried Shao Chen's spiritual sense and flew into that black space. Boom! The world before Shao Chen suddenly changed. A space of nothingness appeared before him. The black banner under his feet continued to descend. Bang! After descending for an unknown period of time, the black banner stabbed into the air with a schwa sound. A piece of land immediately materialized. A small world started to spread out from the ground below the banner. A strong wind blew, dust flew everywhere, and the roars were like thunder. The scene that the small world materialized was that of an ancient battlefield. Countless humanoid creatures stood densely in the air. Some of these creatures had 3 heads and 6 arms. They held all sorts of weapons in their hands. Black chi lingered around them as they stood in the air. Some of them had wings that looked like that of a bird. They floated in the air and formed hand seals with their hands. Streams of destructive energy descended from the sky. Even further away, there were 7 figures that were hundreds of meters tall. Their heads reached the sky and their feet touched the ground. Boundless black clouds gathered above their heads, stretching out for thousands of kilometers. There was no end in sight, layer upon layer, vast and boundless. Among them, a human laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with a heroic spirit, causing one's blood to surge uncontrollably. A huge copper bell floated above his head. The sound of the bell was like a divine sound spreading out in all directions. Ripples that could be seen with the naked eye appeared and spread out into the sky. The countless humanoid creatures standing in the air instantly dispersed like they were breaking dry weeds. He stomped his feet, causing the ground to shake, the sky to tremble, and the mountains to shatter. He stretched out his hand and his 5 fingers became infinitely large. When he pressed them together, the figures in the air were crushed like ants. Shao Chen stood where he was. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. He said in astonishment, "This is the dragon seizing hand. Is this person the Yen clan's patriarch? What a horrifying power. He broke the laws of this space with just one palm strike." Standing in this battlefield, Shao Chen was like a passerby. The demonic soldiers shrouded in black chi passed by him, as though they did not see him. They charged at the Yen clan's patriarch. However, the Yen clan's patriarch was like an undefeatable existence. The copper bell above his head shot down strands of yellow chi, blocking all the attacks. No one could get close to him. Finally, in the distance, among the 7 huge figures, a cold voice came, "The strongest defensive secret treasure of the human race, the Eastern Emperor Bell?" The moment the voice sounded out, the 7 huge black figures rushed over. As they moved, the ground seemed to shrink to an inch. In the blink of an eye, they arrived before the Yen clan's patriarch. The surrounding people immediately retreated. There were loud explosions and large holes appeared in space. The Eastern Emperor Bell rang out continuously. Even though the Yen clan's patriarch was fighting 1 against 7, he did not fall into a disadvantage. However, as the battle dragged on, cracks appeared on the Eastern Emperor bell. In the end, it could not hold on any longer, and the Tao patterns shattered. With a boom, it turned into a small copper bell and fell from the sky, landing at Xiao Chen's feet. The Yan clan's patriarch vomited a mouthful of blood and laughed loudly. Then, his body exploded. He had actually chosen the most decisive way to die. The instant he exploded, the ancient battlefield disappeared without a trace. In the boundless desolate land, there was only a small, damaged copper bell left. This proved that everything that had just happened was real. Xiao Chen picked up the broken copper bell and wiped off the dust on it. He sent a strand of his divine sense into the copper bell and discovered that there was no imprint left behind by the Yan clan's patriarch. This made things much easier. Xiao Chen left his divine sense inside and turned it into an imprint. Then, he slowly merged it with the Eastern Emperor bell. After that, he controlled the black flag and broke through this space to retreat. The black flag rushed into Xiao Chen's eyes. Xiao Chen's divine sense returned to his body. He looked at the Eastern Emperor bell in the sky again. Xiao Chen already had a strange connection with it. Xiao Chen waved his hand and the huge copper bell shrunk to the size of a thumb and landed in Xiao Chen's palm. He muttered, "Eastern Emperor bell, the strongest defensive secret treasure of the human race. I wonder how much of its might I can bring out now." Xiao Chen placed the copper bell back into the universe ring and walked out of this illusion formation. If someone passed by, they would find it extremely strange. Xiao Chen's body seemed to have appeared out of thin air. "Hey!" An indistinct sigh entered Xiao Chen's ears. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave and he extended out his divine sense. Earlier, he had felt that there was a figure following him after he left the city lord's residence. However, this feeling was very vague. Now that he had advanced to inferior grade martial grand master, his senses were more than twice as strong as before. This feeling was even stronger. Xiao Chen carefully scanned the area with his spiritual sense a few times but did not discover anyone. Xiao Chen said doubtfully, "Could it be that I overreacted? If there really was someone, my spiritual sense should have discovered them long ago." Shaking his head, Xiao Chen recollected his thoughts. He kept an eye on this as he continued forward. Just at this moment, Bai's figure ran over from afar. There were a few stalks of herbs in his mouth. He leaped over to Xiao Chen like he was presenting a treasure. Xiao Chen received it and took a look. He could not help but smile. It was a few stalks of rank 5 yubing grass. Xiao Chen originally did not intend to pick them. He did not expect Bai to help him obtain them. Chapter 145. He had already obtained the yubing grass, so the ice crystal flower should be in front. Xiao Chen carried Bai in his embrace. He was almost at the location of the ice crystal flower, so he could not let it run around blindly. After a while, Xiao Chen walked out of the dense forest. He took out the map and looked at it. According to the markings on the map, the ice crystal flower grew on a cliff in front of him. Due to the protection of the rank 5 spirit beast, the ice ape, a regular outer disciple would not dare to come and snatch it even though they knew there was a rank 6 herb here. The instant he walked out of the forest, the sunlight shone on Xiao Chen's body once again. When he looked up, he could already vaguely make out a tall cliff. This was the border of Evil Wind Valley. Xiao Chen patted Bai's head. Under its unwilling gaze, he placed it into the spirit blood jade. He extended his spiritual sense forward, but he did not see the rank 5 spirit beast, the ice ape. Instead, he saw a few young ice apes. They were only rank 4, resting in a corner. Looks like I made a wasted trip. There are no rank 5 spirit beasts here. Xiao Chen sighed slightly and prepared to leave. However, he changed his mind. Since he was already here, it would not be too late to take a look at the ice crystal flower. After all, it was a rank 6 herb. Even if he did not need it, he could still sell it for a good price. After he thought of this, Xiao Chen quickly ran towards the cliff. Just as he was about to reach it, he heard a startled cry. Xiao Qin stopped and looked towards the source of the sound. At the bottom of the cliff, there was a tall and sturdy youth. He was holding a huge axe in his hand, blocking the attacks of 3 ice apes. On the cliff behind him, there was a petite figure carrying a basket on her back. She was nimbly climbing up the cliff. In a crevice above her head, there was a flower petal that was flickering with a cold light. Xiao Qin could not help but feel puzzled. He had clearly swept this place with his divine sense and did not find any cultivators. How could there be 2 more people for no reason? Xiao Qin looked at the 2 again and was shocked to find that the 2 of them had not condensed their martial souls. They were only at the soul refinement stage and were only slightly stronger than ordinary people. No wonder he did not notice them earlier. These 2 people were not martial artists at all. There was no fluctuation of essence in their bodies, so he directly ignored them. 2 commoners coming to chill Wind Valley. If this isn't courting death, then what is? Xiao Qin said with some blame in his heart. They really didn't take their lives seriously. The girl on the mountain wall had already climbed to the bottom of the ice crystal flower. She was only 1 step away from plucking it. Pooh! However, at this moment, a young ice ape broke through the defense of the tall and sturdy youth. With a few leaps, it arrived behind the girl. No! The eyes of the tall and sturdy youth guarding below turned bloodshot as he shouted. He threw the huge axe in his hand at the ice ape. The ice ape nimbly dodged the huge axe. It stretched out its huge hand and smashed it at the girl. When the girl turned her head to look, she was frightened pale. She lost her balance and fell down. Because the tall and sturdy youth no longer had a weapon, he was smashed to the ground by the 2 ice apes. In an instant, his body was covered with bloody wounds. It was a tragic sight. Lightning evasion. With a flash of lightning, Xiao Qin instantly arrived beside the youth. The lunar shadow saber glowed with a 2-meter saber light. This was the first time Xiao Qin had truly condensed a saber light. This was a martial technique that only martial grand masters could use. Pu Ci. The saber light hacked violently at the ice ape that was beating up the tall and sturdy youth. With a ka-cie sound, the ice ape's arm was chopped off. However, a layer of ice appeared on its body, preventing the saber from penetrating any further. Xiao Qin was somewhat surprised that he did not manage to chop it in half. The ice ape that had its arm chopped off let out a pained wail, just like the perfectly fine ice ape beside it. The ice ape gave up on attacking the youth lying on the ground. A ferocious glint appeared in its eyes. The ice ape's sharp palm carried a cold wind as it ruthlessly smashed at Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin took a step back. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky and gathered on the saber. The lunar shadow saber moved in a purple arc. The arc flickered with electricity. In an instant, the saber cut open the chests of the 2 ice apes. The electricity shook violently and the 2 ice apes were immediately knocked back. Xiao Qin did not continue chasing. He looked at the petite girl that had fallen into the air. A silver warship flew out from his eyes and caught the girl in an instant. The ice ape on the mountain wall roared and dived at Xiao Qin. With a huang-dang sound, the lunar shadow saber returned to its scabbard. Dragon seizing hand. A huge black hand appeared from nowhere. It carried an unparalleled force and smashed the ice ape into the mountain wall with a bang. Turning palm into fist. The huge black hand clenched tightly. It seemed like it had the force of 1,000 kilograms as it smashed violently at the ice ape on the mountain wall. There was a loud rumbling sound. The mountain wall trembled and many rocks fell off. A large hole appeared in the mountain wall. The ice ape was smashed in violently. Blood leaked out from the corner of its mouth. Unexpectedly, its body was not smashed into mush, it was still in perfect condition. It is really hard. Xiao Qin said indifferently with a frown. He stabbed the lunar shadow saber into the ground and took out the soul slayer bow and essence light arrow. There was a graceful flash and a surging aura. It was like a meteor tearing through the night sky. The arrow was as fast as lightning. It struck the ice ape that was struggling to climb out with a hung sound. The essence light arrow pierced through the ice ape's neck and pinned it to the ground. With this, the ice ape could not be any more dead. The ice ape's intelligence was very high. When the other two young ice apes saw the situation, they quickly turned and fled. Xiaochen glanced at them indifferently and knocked two essence light arrows on his bow. The arrows moved like a beam of light, tearing through the air and arriving in an instant. They pierced through the chests of the two ice apes and left a large hole. Then, they fell to the ground with a loud bang. "Thank you, benefactor, for saving our lives." The stout youth on the ground, who was covered in wounds, got up and thanked Xiaochen. Xiaochen stood beside him. Xiaochen was 1.8 meters tall, but he was actually shorter than him by a head. Looking at his face, he looked very honest. He was also not much older than Xiaochen. However, Xiaochen had some misgivings about the two of them entering Evil Wind Valley. Two cultivators who had not even condensed a martial spirit, what were they doing here? Xiaochen waved his hand and the small silver boat flew over and slowly landed on the ground. The little girl on the boat quickly jumped off. Xiaochen looked at the bloody wounds on the youth's body. Although they were not fatal, if they were not treated, he would have to recuperate for a long time. Xiaochen took out 2 blood-replenishing pills and handed them to him. He said, "One for external application and one for internal consumption. It can treat your injuries." The youth shook his head and said, "There is no need. This medicinal pill should be very expensive. My minor injuries are not a problem." However, the little girl behind him received it. She had a gentle and weak look on her face as she said softly, "Benefactor, don't listen to Xiao Yang's nonsense. With such severe external injuries, if they are not treated, they will have to recuperate for a long time before they can fully recover." Xiaochen smiled faintly and entered the silver warship. He did not say anything and left directly. They had met by chance and it was just a small matter. There was no need to be overly stubborn about it. The youth called Xiao Yang wanted to chase after Xiaochen. However, he was stopped by the girl behind him. "Don't chase. When Xiaochen returns, it will be troublesome if he cannot find us." The youth was helpless. He could only watch as Xiaochen left. The girl crushed the blood-replenishing pill and slowly applied it to the wounds of the stout youth. Not long after Xiaochen left, a youth in blue quickly arrived before them. When he saw Xiao Yang's injuries, he quickly asked what was going on. After he understood, he immediately chased after Xiaochen. Xiaochen felt a figure rushing towards him quickly. The aura of the figure was very dense, he was at least a superior grade martial Grand Master. Xiaochen raised his guard and stopped. He slowly turned around. When the youth in blue saw Xiaochen stop, he quickly went forward and said, "I am Lu Suifeng. I have not asked for your great name yet. You saved my 2 friends. I will definitely repay this favor in the future." This youth had regular features and an imposing appearance. He had a righteous expression on his face. His sincere words dispelled Xiaochen's guard. He smiled faintly and said, "Yi Chen, it was just a small matter. There is no need to pay so much attention to it." While Xiaochen was sizing up Lu Suifeng was also carefully observing Xiaochen. After a while, Lu Suifeng was astonished. He was merely an inferior grade martial master, yet he was able to chase away 3 infant ice apes so easily. This person was definitely not simple. "Brother Yi, are you from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's outer sect?" "I don't think I have heard of this name before," Lu Suifeng asked. Xiaochen glanced at Lu Suifeng's waist. He saw the silver identity token and understood. This person was an inner disciple of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. No wonder he asked if he was from the outer sect. "No, I just came to Saber City not long ago." Xiaochen felt there was no need to hide anything, so he answered honestly. After that, the two of them chatted for a while. Xiaochen finally understood why those two ordinary people wanted to enter Evil Wind Valley. The ice crystal flower bloomed once every 3 months. If it did not bloom, the three of them would come and pick the petals. All along, after Lu Suifeng lured away the adult ice apes, he would leave the two of them behind to pick the petals. In the past, there were only 2 infant ice apes. Xiao Yang was able to last until Lu Suifeng returned. However, he did not know why there were 3 this time. Xiaochen obtained an important piece of information. There really was a rank 5 spirit beast here. Furthermore, Lu Suifeng did not injure him, he only lured him away. He could not help but rejoice. Before they parted, Lu Suifeng wanted to give Xiaochen 3 inferior-grade spirit stones. Originally, he thought Xiaochen would gladly accept it. Who knew, he would reject it. To Xiaochen, this was just a small matter. He could not accept such a huge favor. Furthermore, he wanted to befriend this person. In the future, if he entered the inner sect, he might have to interact with this person. Seeing that Xiaochen insisted on not accepting it, Lu Suifeng did not argue. He took his leave and said that if Xiaochen had any problems in the future, he would do his best to help. After knowing the information about the rank 5 spirit beast, Xiaochen was not in a rush to leave. After the 3 of them picked all the petals of the ice crystal flower, Xiaochen revealed himself. Seeing the ice ape nailed to the entrance of the cave, Xiaochen thought for a while. First, he took out the spirit cores of the 2 ice apes on the ground and burned them to ashes. After doing all this, Xiaochen pushed off the ground and flew to the entrance of the cave on the mountain wall. He carried out the infant ice ape's corpse and carefully stuck several rank 3 lightning-attributed talismans on the back of the corpse. After that, he jumped into the cave and found a bush. He withdrew his aura and hid. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.